Built by highly skilled local technicians, so your system performs and saves you money. It's total peace of mind all the time. Not all solar companies are created equal. For experienced quality solar, it's MRE. Call 632-2613. MRE, the smarter choice.
$7 meal from Circle K. Get your choice of 2 Nathan's all-beef hot dogs or a half-pound Nathan's all-beef footlong, a big wrap bag of chips, and any size Polar Pop. That's a giant deal of a meal, all for only $7. Circle K. Take it easy.
Hafaday and good morning, Guam. News time here at The Point is 8 minutes past 6 a.m. this Tuesday morning. I'm Kevin Kerrigan, and here's a look now at some of the top stories from the Guam Daily Post. Guam lawmakers yesterday voting to override the governor's veto of a bill requiring the selection of only the most economical health insurance plan for the employees and retirees of the government of Guam. 11 voted for the override. Republican Senators Tommy Morrison, Will Castro, Luis Muña, and Democrat Senator Dennis Rodriguez voted against overriding the bill. A previous attempt to override the veto failed last June, but now in the face of huge shortfalls in the revenue collections projected for this fiscal year and next, the override won easy approval yesterday. It will have no effect on this fiscal year's projected $67 million shortfall, since the current health insurance plans are all locked in place under contract, but it could save millions next year, according to Speaker Benjamin Cruz. On the floor ahead of yesterday's vote, Speaker Cruz said in these fiscally challenging times, we've got to go with the most economical plan. However, Governor Eddie Calvo countered that the vote leaves the GovGuam family with the cheapest single option for a health insurance plan and deprives them of choice. The governor also argued that the savings would be artificial because the cheapest bidder last year did not provide coverage at Guam Regional Medical City or the Seventh-day Adventist Clinic. John Robertson, the chair of the committee overseeing the Guam Contractors Association H-2B litigation, says that he has been advised that the United States Citizen and Immigration Service will not appeal the favorable decision the contractors won from the Guam District Court last month. Robertson, who is Am Orient Engineering president, told the Guam Daily Post yesterday that the Colorado-based lead attorney in their lawsuit, Jeffrey Joseph, emailed him last week to say that USCIS will not be pursuing overturning the ruling. Joseph said that USCIS will comply with Judge Francis Tydenko Gatewood's order, according to Robertson. District Court Judge Gatewood issued a preliminary injunction against USCIS on January 23rd, ordering the agency to reverse its previous denials of H-2B worker petitions and to stop the blanket denial of future petitions. The email from Joseph also encouraged employers that need H-2B workers to file right away and get moving. Many already have, according to Greg Massey, who is the administrator of the Guam Department of Labor's Alien Labor Processing Division. As of yesterday, he said that 7 local employers have already filed petitions with Guam DOL for labor certifications for 1,398 H-2B workers. We'll have more news after this.
Water. It covers nearly 3/4 of our Earth. From vast oceans to millions of rivers and streams, we're all concerned with protecting our world's water. But none is more important than the water you and your family drink and use throughout your home. A Connecticut water treatment system can improve your water so that your family is using the best water in the world. Connecticut, for refreshing ideas on water.
American Water Tech. Smarter water. Better water. Call American Water Tech at 649-2301 or email info@americanwatertech.com.
This KFC chicken is great. Shrimp. Hey, who are you calling shrimp? KFC's new shrimp burger. It's great.
Howdy, folks. KFC's Colonel Sanders here. Try our new shrimp burger and all our seafood items available this season. KFC Food Keliquin, breaded shrimp, seafood salad, and of course, we can't forget your one and only favorite KFC original recipe chicken.
All right. I need to try KFC's new shrimp burger. Good, because you really are shrimp. Hey, a 5-7.
KFC, it's finger-licking good.
News time here at The Point is 12 minutes past 6 a.m. The Guam Judiciary has identified $3.7 million in immediate budget cuts in line with the governor's request to reduce spending in the face of the current fiscal crisis. Among the cuts are the suspension of electronic monitoring, reducing court-appointed attorney fees, and closing some services early. The cost-cutting measures were outlined in a memo to judiciary staff yesterday from Administrator of the courts John Lizama. Overall, the judiciary has identified a 10% reduction in expenses that officials admit will slow the wheels of justice. A woman was abducted, held captive, repeatedly beaten, burned with cigarettes, and sexually assaulted by a man she knew, according to a magistrate's complaint filed in Superior Court yesterday. When the woman escaped, a Good Samaritan brought her to the Guam Police Department's Agana Precinct Command, where she told officers she had spent Valentine's Day evening into the early morning hours of the next day being mentally and physically victimized. Police have arrested a 34-year-old tour bus operator, Kempo Ditas, on allegations of kidnapping, criminal sexual conduct, assault, robbery, and terrorizing. He's being held on a $100,000 cash bail. For these stories and more, log on to postguam.com or pick up a copy of today's Guam Daily Post. Right now with the weather.
Says here, partly cloudy skies this morning, then partly sunny this afternoon, isolated light showers. Winds east up to about 20 miles an hour, daytime highs about 88 degrees. For tonight, mostly cloudy skies and isolated showers. Easterly winds again to about 20 miles an hour and overnight lows of about 76 degrees. And is there anything out there, any kind of pattern, any kind of anything that's worth looking at?
Yeah, not much. Just got a little surge that may push through today. That's going to give us a better chance for rain. Pick up the wind a little bit. And we do have a little funny area down south.
A funny area?
Yeah, it's not really much, though. It's just it's a weak trough of low pressure that's going to pass to our south. May bring us some rain by the weekend.
Does it make you laugh? Is it a clown?
Sometimes.
I got you. All right, if you ever wanted, if you're just cruising around the web and in social media and looking for information about what's going on with weather, you've got a page, a thing that you do on Facebook every once in a while. What's that about?
Yeah, we've got a group on Facebook. It's got over 37,000 members. We just got over that. It's called Pacific Typhoon Season. It's a page, so we allow our members to actually, post things as well, but we monitor all posts. We make sure just official information gets on the page, but people can give their opinions.
Interesting.
Things. Yeah.
So, 37,000 people have signed up for this already?
Yeah, most of them in the Philippines, but yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah, because that's generally where they all head off to one of these days. All right, well, that's what we got for you. News and weather together right here on The Point.
When the power goes out on Guam, the little things can become surprisingly big. Small comforts are often the things we miss most during a power outage. That is why Kohler built the fastest responding generator sets in the industry. Whether you are at home or away, a residential Kohler generator will enable you and your family to live life without interruption. Kohler gas, LPG, and diesel power systems are available from Morrico Equipment, LLC on Epal Road. Call 649-1946. That's 649-1946. Don't forget to click on to MorricoEquipment.com.
Chili's has the seafood you crave, the flavors you love, at a great price with our 3 for Me Lent menu. For just $15, you can get a beverage, fresh salad, and a Lent-friendly entree. First, choose from a refreshing Coca-Cola, iced tea, or Heineken on draft. Then enjoy a fresh house salad right before you indulge in your choice of a mouth-watering entree, like our spicy shrimp tacos, savory Cajun pasta with shrimp, or our flavorful grilled ancho salmon. Chili's 3 for Me Lent menu for just $15. Available for a limited time. Chili's, more life happens here.
It's Triple J's out with the old and in with the new sales event going on now. Get unbelievable savings on all remaining 2017s, plus many 2018s. Take advantage of our best pricing on all Hondas, Acuras, Fords, Mazdas, Lincolns, Volvos, Kias, and used cars. New cars as low as $137 per paycheck, and used cars as low as $80 per paycheck. Plus no payments for 90 days, 0 down and 1.9% financing on approved credit. Visit us online at triplejguam.com and get pre-approved instantly. Trade-ins welcome. Some conditions apply. See dealer for details. Triple J Auto Group. Customers first.
The Ray Gibson Show. Morning talk that matters. Call now. 888-TALK. That's 888-8255.
What do you say? Want to get started?
Welcome back, Marathon Man.
Oh, God. Don't remind me. Don't remind me.
How many parts of your body hurt today?
From the waist down. From the waist down. But I'm not gonna. We went through all of this. We went through all of this before, and the long and short of it for me was that the problem is I didn't have the kind of time I needed to put together the correct training regime in order to happily survive a marathon. So I was.
So that means you unhappily survived?
Oh, 6 hours. It was grueling.
So you're
was
the Allen
absolutely
Iverson
grueling.
of marathon runners. That's what you're saying.
Whoever
Practice.
that is, yeah.
Practice.
What's that?
Practice.
What do we need that for? But everybody else. Yuka did hers in 4 hours 9 minutes. My wife did hers in 4 hours 21 minutes. Personal records for the both of them there. And so because they were able to strike those personal records, they got to stay in Okinawa for a couple of extra days. And we'll be able to fly in when regular people fly in, not flying in the middle of the night like I did. Its own story unto itself. So left Okinawa yesterday, and then got to Nagoya. And I don't normally fly into. I've never been to that airport before, and so it was a completely different and altogether bizarre thing for me because I didn't know it was Nagoya. I'm just punching things into the computer at the airport. Travel has gotten so that you can do that. You know, I got Guam International Airport. I got in there and I put my passport in, and it said, "Are you Ray Gibson?" And I said, "Yes, I am." "Are you going to Japan?" I said, "Yes, I am." I just kept hitting buttons until I got my boarding pass. So I get the boarding pass, and we all get off at the airport in Nagoya, and I'm looking around going, This is amazing. Every time I fly into Narita, the airport looks different. And my wife looked at me. She says, "We're not in Narita. This is Nagoya. It's a whole other airport." Really? Really? How about that?
Remember when there used to be direct flights to Okinawa from Guam?
I remember direct flights from Okinawa to Guam. That was a good. That was the first time I ever drank habusake. The concoction that they have there with the snake inside the bottle. It's the first time I ever had that.
I never tried that. No,
Really?
No.
I brought some for you. Oh, Lord. Yeah, a little too early for that.
I hear that stuff will make you see dead relatives.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. It tastes good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it tastes good. You just got to get past the idea that there is a snake. They're fermenting along with everything else in the bottle. But otherwise it was great. Now, they have this thing. So I flew from Okinawa back to Nagoya. They have a thing there, and I was a long layover. I got in at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I wasn't going to leave until after 8 o'clock that night. So, there's not, I get lost in the airports, right? So better not leave the place. There is a tube hotel. It's not a regular hotel. It's they stick you in these little tube-shaped holes in the wall.
Sure, I've read about those, yeah.
So I stayed in one of those yesterday.
Yeah.
This is not a bad thing.
It must be very, very cheap, I would hope.
It was $30 for all 6 hours. And there's Wi-Fi, and there's a shower. And
inside
there's
the tube?
lockers. No, well, there's they got a little locker in the tube, but there was a whole stand-up locker if you wanted to, skis and golf clubs and luggage and all of that. They had all of these really cool amenities, a toothbrush and a shave your face thing.
When you said shower,
absolutely free.
I envisioned you crawling into the tube and wash warm, tumble dry.
Well, that's kind of the idea that I had. But a very, very fantastic process, mostly automated, and they have a section for the boys and a section for the girls, and there's no mingling of any of the genders there. They're still pretty aware of that kind of thing in Japan, and I thought, what a great thing, you're able to lean back in it, and like I said, it's got Wi-Fi, and so you can work, or you can sleep, or you can do whatever it is that you want to do, as opposed to wandering around an airport for 8 hours. Laying down is critical. And then it got time to get on the airplane to come home. This is 9 o'clock at night, practically in Nagoya City, and you hear all of this talk about how tough things are with the tourism, and the planes are flying in empty. You know what? That's not true. The plane I was on had 0 empty seats on it. Every single chair was done, and most of the seats were occupied by a group. So if and do you remember when this North Korea thing was starting to flare up? We had lost some of these groups that were coming out here, and the lady announced to the flight attendant, she says, "I am in charge of about 100 people back there." She was sitting up in the front, but everybody was back there. So she was, "I'm not being over there with the noisy people. I'll be up here." And I think I had a couple of these young ladies seated next to me in the group, and it was the group of "We're going to talk all the way through the flight" group. That was, I think that was the name of it. It was the Talking All the Way Through the Airplane Club of Nagoya, Japan.
So you had a pleasant flight,
and they were all here. I wish I had the headphones then, like the kind I'm wearing now. But I was delighted to see that the plane was full, and the plane that I left on was full. Obviously, we don't have as many direct routes, so they're doing a hub and spoke thing there. But still, a full airplane is a full airplane. Everybody happy about the spend, and everybody happy about their trip on Guam. That was nice. I was happy to see all of that. Now, and I'm not going to say it's the worst thing. So when I arrived last night, it was 20 after about 1. It was late or early, however you want to categorize that. And I figured, all right, I'm not going to bother going home because I just got to wake up and come to work. So I came to work.
Right.
And neither one of you even volunteered to pick me up at 20 after 1 in the morning. So I took a cab. And it was very pleasant, very clean, very organized affair. But I thought it was kind of pricey. I thought it was spending. Now I know why we see all these Koreans walking up and down the road between the airport and the gas station.
You took a cab here and the airport is a stone's throw away.
From
and how
Guam
much
International
was it?
Airport. From Guam International Airport is the crow. I can see the gate from here.
Exactly. So how much was it?
It was $16
to get to here.
Yes. Just down the hill. I mean, you didn't even have to put the thing in gear.
Man, you could have saved that 16 and just walked and stopped at the mobile store on the way, picked up a snack on the way.
There you go.
You know, I was thinking, lead me not into temptation. The thought it crossed my mind as the meter crossed over to 16, and I was thinking, what the heck is this? And you can see it. It's about every 10 or 15 seconds, the number changes, and it goes up higher by about 80 cents. Wow. Now, I'm sure that's legal because it was a meter. It was a metered ride.
Yeah.
But golly, that seems to be kind of pricey considering the airport is there. I wanted to get here, which is not that much further than it is down into Tumon. So if it was $16 to get from the airport to DPW, which is where we're at, got to be more.
Yeah, probably doubles.
$25.
Going down the hill doubles it.
Were you staying at the Nico?
Is that why there's been a decline in tourism?
Yeah, where you staying? I'm staying over at the Nico. I can hear the driver go ka-ching. Just but I'm retiring now. Anyway, so
Uber.
I'm home, and what did I miss? Did I miss anything spectacular?
Nothing much.
I don't believe you.
Tax increase?
Tax increase? But the governor says in the thing it's not a tax increase. I have a My Dear People of Guam email, which is usually attached to the My Dear People of Guam address. And it says, now Bill 245 seeks to not raise taxes, but to equalize the revenues as a result of the tax reductions by the federal government. And we're doing that with a 2 percentage point increase in the BPT. The T in BPT stands for tax.
It's just an equalization.
Okay, so the Gov is coming in. My understanding is the Gov will be here with us this morning at 7:30.
Just after, yeah.
Yeah, and he's going to throw daggers at you through his eyes because I've been reading the editorials here in the Guam Daily Post here. You want to sit in that room with Mike? You can if you want.
I've got room.
Sometimes it's the hardest thing about being a journalist or somebody in the newsy community is every once in a while, and not so much for Kevin. But for me, I got to have an opinion. I got to wake up in the morning, I look in the headlines, read the stories that you all are talking about, and come up with my own opinion. Sometimes based on facts, sometimes based on feelings. It's 2018. Feelings can be confused for facts now. I've picked that up from the mainstream media. But sometimes, and it puts me at odds with some of these guys. So I guess if Eddie wants to come in and sell this equalization package, he's more than welcome to do it as the governor of Guam.
He's a good man. He's had 8 years of practice.
And he's not the only one with some ideas. And just absolutely delighted to see how many ideas are coming out. I'll bet you we get even more ideas on how the government can save money at the public hearings that are going to be taking place tomorrow over at the legislature. There are 3 hearings on the 2 measures that are before the body, 9:30 in the morning, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, at 6 p.m. And another great idea from editorial writer at the Guam Daily Post. Can we have a I say airplane voice here. Can we have a non-bloviating rule at the hearing tomorrow? Because people of Guam, my dear people of Guam, we have been through this before. We have been through this kind of things many times before. And you recognize that there's going to be some degree of dog and ponying, and there's going to be all kinds of people that come through and say, hey, not me. Don't tip over my rice bowl here. I am one of the hardworking ranks. I am one of the loyal ranks. I am one of the committed ranks. And it just would be bad if something were to happen that would change things drastically for me. And we get that. What is it? You get 11,000 employees in the government of Guam, down from a high of 15, 16,000 in the past. Don't ask me what happened to all of them. But that's where the numbers are these days. And they're all going to be essentially, I think, fighting for their jobs when they're at this hearing. If not their jobs, then their hours. Maybe the flavor of the insurance that they've come to know and love, which sounds like it's going to change based on a veto that took place. Which I'll tell you right now, I'm only halfway lucid on that particular story. It rings a bell in my head on a controversy. There was once upon a time where we decided that we were only going to be taking insurance from one company, and then we made it so that a bunch of other companies could bid on it, but we still bought it from the one company that was the most expensive one. And so they're changing.
No, for the past couple of years, there's been choice. GovGuam employees have been able to choose.
Had the choice.
Yeah, they've had the choice to choose from at least 3 different carriers.
So what are we changing? Are we changing to? Or are we changing back to?
Well, it looks like it'll be only one carrier.
But it'll be the lowest priced one?
The most economical, and depending upon how you look at that, it could be and probably will be the lowest priced one.
Okay, so I'll investigate more. I'll research. I'll read. Whatever you put in front of me, however you want me to ingest this, I will do all of that. But the question still comes back down to when they have these negotiations, when they have these conversations where they say, this is the kind of insurance that we would like for our employees, and as Frank would say, our retirees. Who is sitting in there that is my representative, who represents, and don't tell me it's the senators, who sits in there that represents the taxpayers? That's what I thought. That's what I thought. There's nobody. And we need to get ourselves into that place where when we are talking about what is essentially, this is collective bargaining is what it is. That's exactly what it is the government collectively bargaining for a benefit for the employees of the government of Guam. It is what it is. But somebody needs to be in there that can say, that's good for the rank and file, that's good for the political class, but this is not good for the taxpayers because it costs too much. It is too large a burden for them to bear. So shift the weight over, shift the payments over back to the employees and off of the taxpayers. As I will probably need to remind you more and more, when they start talking about the government of Guam saved this, the government of Guam had to pay that, take out the parts where it says the government of Guam and say you, Mine, insert your name. Where it says Gov Guam, insert Michael Knight, insert Kevin Kerrigan, insert Ray Gibson, because that's exactly what it comes down to. What are some of the other things that I'm going to be bloviating on? Because this is my own public hearing. So there's no time limits for the guy on the broadcast side. That is, unless you choose to chime in. Here's the number, 888-TALK, 888-8255. That is the telephone number here on the radio station. You can send an email, and I could even remember to turn on that email channel here this morning so I can read what you say in real time. That's raygibsonshow@gmail.com. We're currently streaming live to Facebook, and we're streaming live to thepoint.gu. If you miss any of the pearls of brilliance and the wisdom that is sure to follow in the next 3.5 hours, I invite you to go to YouTube. The video will be cut and pasted from the very good feed that we have in the computer, and that's what's going to be sent to YouTube. Already a growing number of subscribers, and we want you to be one of those things as well, because if it isn't social media, somebody will complain. 6:32 in the morning, and is there headlines from the Guam Daily Post? Yes, there is, delivered by Kevin Kerrigan.
Half a day and good morning, Guam. News time here at The Point is 33 minutes past 6 a.m. this Tuesday morning. Guam lawmakers yesterday voting to override the governor's veto of a bill requiring the selection of only the most economical health insurance plan for the employees and retirees of Gov Guam. 11 voted for the override. Republicans Tommy Morrison, Will Castro, and Luis Muña, and Democrat Senator Dennis Rodriguez voted against the override. A previous attempt to override the veto failed last June, but now in the face of huge shortfalls in the revenue collections projected for this fiscal year and next, the override won easy approval yesterday. In a statement following the vote, the Speaker, Benjamin Cruz, said, "This is the first in a series of steps we must take to save the ship of state for future generations." Senator Frank Huggan Jr., meanwhile, said he's always supported a choice in health care providers, but the financial crisis before us and the state of our hospital forced everyone to reconsider their positions yesterday. However, Governor Eddie Calvo has countered that the vote leaves the Gov Guam family with the cheapest single option for a health insurance plan and deprives them of choice. The governor arguing that the savings would be artificial because the cheapest bidder last year didn't provide coverage at Guam Regional Medical City or the Seventh-day Adventist Clinic. The chair of the committee overseeing the Guam Contractors Association's H-2B litigation says he's been advised that the U.S. Immigration Service will not appeal the favorable decision the contractors won from Guam District Court last month. Am Orient Engineering President John Robertson says he was informed by the lead attorney in the case that USCIS will not try and overturn the ruling and will comply with the district court's preliminary injunction against the USCIS requiring the agency to reverse its previous denials of H-2B worker petitions and to stop the blanket denials of future petitions. Employers have been encouraged to file H-2B applications right away. Department of Labor Alien Labor Administrator Greg Massey confirms at least 7 local employers have already filed petitions for labor certifications for more than 1,300 H-2B workers. Police say a motorcyclist was in critical condition as of yesterday after he was involved in a serious crash early Monday morning. GPD spokesman Sergeant Paul Tapau says the motorcycle collided with a vehicle along Marine Corps Drive at Pale San Vitoris Road near Santos Hill. Sergeant Tapau says officers arrived on the scene shortly after 1 a.m. Monday and found the male motorcyclist unconscious and unresponsive. He was taken to Guam Regional Medical City. GPD's Highway Patrol Division is investigating. For these stories and more, log on to postguam.com or pick up a copy of today's Guam Daily Post.
Chili's has the seafood you crave, the flavors you love, at a great price with our 3 for Me Lent menu. For just $15, you can get a beverage, fresh salad, and a Lent-friendly entree. First, choose from a refreshing Coca-Cola, iced tea, or Heineken on draft. Then enjoy a fresh house salad right before you indulge in your choice of a mouth-watering entree, like our spicy shrimp tacos, savory Cajun pasta with shrimp, or our flavorful grilled ancho salmon. Chili's 3 for Me Lent menu for just $15. Available for a limited time. Chili's. More life happens here.
Relax, enjoy, and be greeted by the spectacular view of Hagåtña Bay when you visit the Point at the Sheraton Laguna Guam. Gaze into the beautiful sunset as you unwind to the music of Philip Garcia and Natasha on Wednesdays, Mama Shar and Nina on Thursdays, Philip Garcia and Luis Muñoz on Fridays, and Jack Larimer on Saturdays. Open daily from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Happy hour from 5 to 8 p.m. with all cocktail drinks for $7. Receive a discount when you present your SPG card. Call Peter Yaban at 646-2222 for reservations at the Point at the Sheraton Laguna Guam Resort.
How do you turn every day into cash back? With the Bank of Guam Visa credit card, cash back just got better. Get 1.5% cash back every month with every purchase. Every pick-me-up, every filler-up, every Sunday dinner, every four-wheel spinner. Whatever comes to mind, even every stroll in the sweet sunshine. Everything your heart desires turns into 1.5% cash back every month. The Bank of Guam Visa credit card, the everyday card. Apply today. Call, click, or visit. Terms and conditions apply. Bank of Guam, member FDIC.
There's that noise talking about traffic here, and there has been traffic all morning long. I heard a number of squad cars zip by the radio station about 20 after 4. Wonder what that was all about. Tell you what, just looking at the maps right now, it looks like traffic is beginning to build in all of the usual places. Don't see any serious slowdowns, except moving into Anderson Air Force Base over by the front gate, starting to get some indications of things slowing down there. But like I said, building up in the usual spots, Milao by the schools, and up in Dededo as you're making your way out there. And Route 3 hasn't started to go crazy yet, but I got a feeling that it will. What's this build up over in the Mighty area? Yep, that's just it. Traffic moving in and out of Mighty. That's a look at traffic this morning here on The Point.
For more than 40 years, we've managed our island's most precious resource, your health. Take Care's benefit plans allow members access to more than 120 medical providers, 40 dental providers, and 18 pharmacies in the region. Take Care's health plans ensure members in Palau, Saipan, and Guam receive the care they deserve. Our programs and wellness classes have proven results for our valued members, and our commitment to your health never been stronger. Take Care, our island, your health plan.
In illness and in wellness, Calvo's Select Care is health care that is there for you. That's why over 80% of the Guam medical community places their trust and insures with us. We offer our members wellness and fitness programs for a healthier lifestyle and provide a comprehensive medical network on and off island to help members from unexpected illnesses. Contact Calvo's Select Care today for more information.
The Ray Gibson Show. Call now, 888-TALK. That's 888-8255.
Yep, Lent time here on Guam. You can tell because everybody is saying, come to our restaurant and have something made with fish. Yes. And my friends over at Wendy's say it's time for fish fans to celebrate the return of Wendy's cod filet sandwich. I love this. Wild-caught North Pacific cod, and then they bread it up with panko crumbs with a light it's a different kind because it's panko crumbs, right? So it uses Japanese bread. It doesn't use like regular old Pullman bread. This is very specific stuff. And the cool thing about panko is that you can fry it up a little bit more, and it still retains a lot of that the crisp before it starts to burn. These guys are expert at it. Drizzled in a new creamy dill tartar sauce and crispy pickles. Man,
they hit that one out of the park.
Can we get this now? Is it available now? Wendy's cod filet. Now that's better. That's better. That's awesome. I'm so glad. I had some interesting food while I did not. In Okinawa is among, like every Japanese place, they're known for certain things. Bitter melon, and I had some good not as good as former candidate for governor, Carl Gutierrez. He does a thing with bitter melons and cooks it so it's not as bitter. Yeah, I mean, funny thing why would you eat something called bitter melon if you didn't want it to be bitter? Well, you just don't want to make the face and come up with too much of that. So they have bitter melon Kit Kat in Okinawa, which I always thought was kind of cool.
Nice.
They have a million different Kit Kat flavors, right? And as far as food is concerned, I wanted to go and have. There's a place at the American Mall, and they call it the American Mall because there are no Japanese. There's all Americans shopping and eating. But when I went there, the went up to this place, kind of famous for their Okinawan cuisine, and I said, "I'd like your boiled pig's ear."
Oh.
And the lady said, we don't have the boiled pig's ear tonight.
Oh,
We can
man.
cook anything else for you in the menu. We just don't have boiled pig's ear because it's good. It's tasty. Listen, it's kind of not too far off from the kind of things that we eat around here. So I'm sorry I missed that, but otherwise the food was terrific. Had some outstanding ramen in 2 or 3 places. Absolutely volcanic stuff. So if you get a chance to fly back, unless you've got relatives in Okinawa. I'm not sure how many of you do anymore in the military or whatever. I don't know how often you get a chance to go there, but they've changed things up a little bit over at that American Mall. It used to feel like kind of a place to go and buy used jeans or something like that, but it's a little bit fancier, a little bit of a cooler shopping experience when you get to the Okinawa place. There was something else I was thinking about while I was Kadena. Part of the marathon that I ran, and there's 2 marathons in Okinawa. One of them is the Naha Marathon, which is 26 flat, and then there's this one, which is 26 miles of brutal, evil hills. You don't realize just how places like San Francisco, you say Okinawa, and I saw Karate Kid. I didn't see one hill in the entire thing. Right, and so you go there and you run. There's a lot of hills, but they have this long flat that takes you through Kadena Air Force Base, which was, I thought, a really, really interesting thing. Because normally, unless you're in the military, you probably don't get a chance.
They open the gates and let you run through?
They open the gates and let you run right through the thing. Don't stop. No, there's no stopping. There's a bathroom place over there, but you got to do that on the run. You got to trot when you're making your way through there. No, they're very, very hospitable, and all kinds of boys and all kinds of girls out there and clapping and handing out water and gels and salt. And it was just a very unique experience to be able to run through Kadena Air Force Base and run by Foster, and just very, very interesting to see that there is still that kind of thing going on. In the back of your head, you look at these kids that are out there wondering how many of them, which ones of these guys are one of these days going to be here on Guam when we're talking about the military buildup. And the short answer is not one of those kids is going to be part of this process, because I think it's going to be still a long time. Yeah, several years away from the time that we start putting some of those boots on the ground. There are some
2
of
to
them.
3 years.
Yeah,
Right?
but these guys are going to be
Isn't that
gone.
what they say?
These guys, they're
That's what they
going to
said
do
10
year
years ago.
2, 3 years, and out. And if they do, maybe they'll come in with some kind of a I talked to a couple of guys that I knew that they're not sofa workers, but they, and one of them is a resident alien in Okinawa. I guess they do that if you have the right kind of skills. And he was talking about, I don't know when that's going to happen. He says, why? I said, because we're still building things for Marines now. We've still got stuff on the books that are going to be going in for just our regular day-to-day stuff. So nobody's telling us to downscale at this point. Very, very interesting place. Very, very interesting time. And it looks like we are in the midst of some very, very interesting times. Oh, I got to tell you about this, too. Subway has got your fresh choices for Lent. Sink your teeth into, I told you, everybody's asking. Go and enjoy the classic tuna, or indulge in the mouthwatering greatness of their seafood sensations, or try the tasty Veggie Max. A delicious vegetarian patty free of artificial colors and flavors. Visit any of that's artificial colors and artificial flavors. There's plenty of flavor in the vegetarian patty. Visit any of the convenient locations today at Subway. Fresh is what they do. All right, so now that I've gotten some of the other pleasantries out of the way, and welcome back, and golly, it was fun. And now I'm by the way, there's one last pleasantry, just one last thing. If you were listening on Friday and if you were listening yesterday, going, hey, Gibson's still on the radio.
It was the best of.
It was what we loosely refer to as the best. It's not like we've got this deep backlog of interviews and long monologues that I have done, these streams of consciousness, because frankly, we haven't been on the air that long in this radio. It's not even a month yet. And when we get to the end of the month, it'll be the end of a short month. But still in all, Michael was able to go and find a couple of places where we shone. We were shining as broadcasters and managed to put them all together with some news from Kevin and a few of the commercials and things like that. So if you listened in the last couple of days and didn't know I was gone, we did our job.
It almost sounded like we planned it.
You did what you were supposed to be doing there. All right, so good job. Good job on you, Mike. I'm glad I hired you. So where to now? Where do we want to go now? Should we preface? Should everything that we do today here point to what needs to get done over at the legislature tomorrow? As I said, Governor Eddie Jerome Baza-Calvo has asked for, and obviously we say yes, when he wants to get some airtime here on the point. Oh, it'll be his first time in the studio.
That's right. First day we had the lieutenant governor, and now the governor's making some time.
I'm not having a good hair morning. So, Gov, on your way in. Hey, Gov, do me a favor. Swing by an infusion or something on the way in, would you? I'm drinking my ghetto coffee here. Just saying, if you get a chance. The drive-thru's open now. Where was I? But he's going to be in the studio. He is either on the warpath or hell-bent for leather on making it clear how he wants the conversation to go at the legislature tomorrow. And if you've got some thoughts on that, you're welcome to join. If you think that'll be fun, 888-8255 is the phone number. Oh. And we'll buzz through a couple of points. I'm sorry. I got my social media is open, and I've got a shiny thing that just got sent in. But he's got his ideas on what it is that we need to do to, as he says in the address, equalize the revenues as a result of the tax reductions by the federal government. We'll increase the BPT, or gross receipts tax. So I need to get some splains on how we get to, it's not a tax increase. We're just increasing the tax. That's all. But there's going to be a 0.25% goes to the Department of Education to address, quote, critical capital improvement needs. 0.75 for GMH, which is going to stick even after the sunset. And the 1.25% that's left over is going to end up to be money that we need to keep the lights on and maintain the level of services that we are currently enjoying now.
Gets us out of the hole, huh?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, remember, it was last week we were talking about we weren't even sure where the bottom
How
of the
deep
hole
the hole was, yeah.
right? So you talked to...
It grew by 20 million last week.
Yeah, we talked to the OPA, and I said 47. Does that sound right? She says, yeah, sure. That, based on everything that we're looking at right now, that's about right. And then they said, oh, but wait, there's more. We this other unanticipated reduction in income to the tune of about $20 million.
We're going to see some fluctuation in those numbers, I'm sure. And there is good news. At least the H-2B situation seems to be easing.
The idea, we did not have this last Thursday when I interviewed John Robertson. The expectation was, because it was the United States of America and a gaggle of attorneys that they've got out there, and it's us, here on Guam, and everybody got to do something to make a career. I was fully anticipating that there was going to be some kind of appeal on this, but apparently the USCIS says we're not going to be taking any further action. And the word from John Robertson is get moving this morning. Go and apply. Start if you need contractors. Go and start applying today, because that's how this is all going to be happening.
Sure. And Greg Massey said that they've already had more than 1,300 apply.
I imagine there's probably going to be some more. Now, was that based on, with Greg's numbers, was that the H-2Bs that were supposed to be working the federal projects?
Yeah, he said that most of the applications began coming in January in anticipation of the NDAA's permission that was granted to exemptions to allow the 4,000. And so, but first boots on the ground probably won't happen until May, he said.
So the question that I would ask Greg and John is, based on the word that the USCIS is not going to be taking any further action.
Just a point of clarification, that's not quite official yet. That's just what John Robertson understands to be the case.
Based on the email.
You're right. USCIS still has until the end of this month to file a formal notice, but they haven't done so yet, and apparently they've communicated to John that they're not going to.
Short month. Keep your fingers crossed, right?
Yeah.
So, but the question is still valid, assuming that it gets to be the end of the month and there's not going to be any fight for it, right?
Yeah.
So the people that have applied for H-2B visa workers under the guise that they were going to be used for federal and NDAA work. Can we change our minds? Is it possible that we can say, look, once the guy's here, work is work?
Each application has to list specifically what
titles.
that job is, so it has to be linked to a military buildup project.
All right. So in that case, then, even if you've already applied for somebody, you're probably not going to be able to throw them into weekend work to build our reception area.
But as a result of the district court's decision last month, those people that need H-2B workers for non-buildup related jobs can apply.
Please start applying now.
Yeah.
Please start applying now. The idea here, and I think most people will remember, this town looks best when we're under construction.
Both paths are open.
Get moving, guys. Talk to John, or find somebody over at what's Johnny Martinez's place, Jimmy's place, contractors,
Guam Contractors Association.
I'll be better when I've had real sleep. I'll be much better when I get real sleep.
It's the marathon.
Couple of, I was going to say program note. I'm not wearing my headphones today. I have in-ear monitors. Because everybody says when I put the headphones on,
they can't see you.
No, it makes the little wispy hairs in the front. It looks like I'm losing my hair. I'm not losing my hair. It's just the way it comes out. So when I went to a department store in Okinawa, and I got myself a pair of in-ear monitors so I can hear everything that goes on, but I don't have these big headphoney things on my head. The only other problem I'm having with my hair is I haven't had a shower in. I didn't want to say.
We didn't want to say either.
I forgot I didn't want to say. So I'm bedhead, but I haven't been into bed. So I'm sorry. The shiny. I was talking about taxis, right? All right, and this is what my friend says. Next time you need one, call, and then he gives a number. He says, this is an underground Korean taxi. Whatever the going rate is, they'll cut it in half.
What's the number?
Do you want to know for you, or is this a newsy
maybe we
thing?
should share it off the air.
They are unmarked and have no meter. They just know how much to charge based on experience with distance.
Wow.
These are the same taxi drivers that the institutions use in Tumon for the night scene. Now, what do you mean by institutions? What is the institution? Do I have to wash my hands when I get out? Should I wear something when I get out of the place? I'm kind of confused on what you mean by the institutions and the night scene. Please be a little bit more specific when we're going over all of those important details here as the program continues. My name is Ray Gibson. Kevin Kerrigan takes care of the news, and my friend Michael Knight answers the phone when you call 888-8255. and just want to kind of go around the horn on some of the stories that we've got, and even some of the subtle distractions that I'm getting myself into. I'm sorry, I can't. I'm having a hard time. Let me try one more time the password here and see if it clicks in. There it is. Oh, that'll be interesting. Okay, I got it. No name, just concerned citizen. My name is Ray, and I'm concerned as well. Good morning.
Hi, sir. Mr. Gibson, I was just wondering if you actually touched on any of the topics in regards to the recent off-roading forum they held.
When was that? I've been out of town for 4 days. So tell me all about it. Tell me what you know.
Well, from what I was reading, it was, I believe, I don't want to get my information wrong, but I believe Cars Plus put together the open forum to how they could mitigate the issues with off-roading and the environmental hazards that were coming with it.
I think they're the outfit to do it. They're the guys that do Jeeps in this town, and they got lots of motorcycles on the side that they're good for off-roading.
But
are you there?
Hello?
Yeah, no. Sometimes the cell phones will split up and then get together again. Anyway, I was saying they would be the appropriate place to do that. I think they've got a stake in it, given the number of off-road vehicles that they sell with very cool brand names and 4x4s and ATVs and motorcycles.
Well, I'm only calling just because I wanted to touch a little bit on, growing up on Guam, I've noticed the change of the land, you would say, going hiking with the family and the friends, and I just think it's a collective thing where everybody should be conscious about it, because where everybody is technically getting quote unquote taxed, if you think about it. And, we do live on an island, and every little thing we do is a factor to it. I mean, if you drive back road, if you drive through the village, I think the most common thing you see is trash. And
go to Two Lovers Point. Just look, take your eyes off the road for just a second. Look left, look to the right, and somebody has gone in there in the middle of the night and trashed the place. I agree with you. I think there's a whole lot of other people that have been responsible for some of the we talk about why it is that we've got this runoff that goes down into the bays from the highlands, and in some cases it has nothing to do with guys that are in 4x and guys that are on motorcycles and ATVs. It's the yahoos that are going out there that are too lazy to go hunt for the deer and the baboys, so they'll start a fire. And chase them out and burn the grass. And then if there's no grass there, when it rains, what the grass was holding together turns into mud, and that goes downhill. It's pretty logical.
What's very upsetting is, the mindset, like in anything, is, I'm not making an issue. I'm not making a difference. This me going out's not going to cause any problems. But when you live on an island with 100,000 some people, and say 10,000 of those people think the same, I mean, it's going to make an impact.
Well, everybody got to, take only pictures, leave only footprints, right? Everybody has an impact on the land. Make yours as positive as possible. I appreciate your positive call, dude. I'll talk to you pretty soon. I'll see if I can get a hold of somebody over at the dealership and see what they are putting together and how this is something that even guys that aren't off-roaders might be able to participate in. It's 7 a.m. on KUSG. Guess what? I have got the Fox Radio News live, not pre-recorded. This is coming in live over the network feed right now. Kevin Kerrigan and more Guam Daily Post news ahead.
Reacting to Russian election meddling, I'm Rich Dennison, Fox News. The president continues tweeting about Russian efforts to influence the 2016 vote. Fox's John Decker joins us live from the White House.
President Trump criticizing his predecessor for not doing enough to prevent Russia from interfering in the 2016 presidential election. Writing on Twitter, Obama was president up to and beyond the 2016 election. So why didn't he do something about Russia meddling? In a series of tweets over the weekend, the president attacked the the FBI and Democrats, and even corrected his national security advisor over the issue. But he has still not criticized Russia over its attempt to influence the vote. Rich?
John, confessed Florida school shooter Nicholas Cruz was in a Florida courtroom today for a procedural hearing. Today's hearing involved how some documents would be sealed during Nicholas Cruz's trial. The judge saying she would prefer the documents be made public whenever possible. Cruz is being held without bond on 17 counts of premeditated murder. A leading Dallas official urging the NRA to look elsewhere for its convention.
Embattled Dallas Mayor Pro Tem Democrat Dwayne Caraway admits that he enjoys the Second Amendment.
I have 5 guns, 1 in my car, 1 in every room of my house.
Though he's calling for gun control and asking the NRA to stay away from Dallas and its scheduled convention this May. A convention that expects some 80,000 attendees with an economic impact worth tens of millions of dollars. Caraway says the meeting would cause costly demonstrations in the city. The NRA has not responded to our request for comment. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
The U.S. will play for a gold medal in women's hockey for the 3rd straight Olympics, thanks to a 5-0 win over Finland in the semifinals. And for the 3rd time, they'll take on Canada, which beat Russia by the same score. Fox News, fair and balanced.
Listen, my life changed because someone was there to get me to use drugs. No one can understand. Whether or not they've struggled with addiction themselves, people seem to think that having someone who will listen is gonna help make it better. I'm realizing that I need help.
I'm listening.
I need help. I'm realizing that I think that having someone who will listen is going to help make it better. Whether or not they've struggled with addiction themselves, people seem to understand. No one can get me to use drugs. My life changed because someone was there to listen.
1 in 7 Americans will struggle with addiction during their lifetime. Want to know how you can help? Go to heretolisten.com for tips and tools to help turn addiction around. A public service announcement brought to you by the Ad Council.
The White House is reacting after the Senate failed to approve any immigration proposals last week. Vice President Mike Pence.
You have 1.8 million people that were brought into this country as minors, are here through no fault of their own, and President Trump, with the compassion of the American people, has said, we're willing that we should solve that.
President Trump has said he would veto any proposal to protect those who came here illegally as children that didn't include funding for his border wall and an end to family chain migration and the visa lottery program. A convicted killer whose case paved the way for changes in juvenile sentencing denied parole.
A Louisiana parole board has denied Henry Montgomery release from prison. Montgomery has been in prison for more than 50 years for the deadly shooting of a sheriff's deputy in 1963. His Supreme Court case in 2016 struck down life without the possibility of parole sentences for teenagers convicted of murder, giving about 2,000 inmates the ability to argue for early release. Montgomery's parole hearing was his first chance at release since his conviction. In Washington, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
A paucity of poultry.
Something's gone afoul at KFC, which was forced to close most of its 900 outlets across Britain and Ireland over the weekend because of a shortage of chicken. And as of Monday, just a fraction of those locations have been able to reopen. The company apologizing, blaming what it calls teething problems with its new delivery partner DHL, saying a number of deliveries have been incomplete or delayed. The fast food chain apparently trying to lighten the situation, tweeting, "The chicken crossed the road, just not to our restaurants." Lillian Wu, Fox News.
Major League Baseball making moves to speed up the game, announcing today it will limit the number of times a manager, coach, or player can visit the pitcher's mound. It's also reducing the time between innings and for pitching changes. I'm Rich Dennison, Fox News Radio.
This KFC chicken is great, Shrimp. Hey, who are you calling Shrimp? KFC's new Shrimp Burger. It's great.
Howdy, folks. KFC's Colonel Sanders here. Try our new Shrimp Burger and all our seafood items available this season. KFC Food Kelequin, breaded shrimp, seafood salad, and of course, we can't forget your one and only favorite KFC original recipe chicken.
All right, I need to try KFC's new Shrimp Burger. Good, because you really are shrimp. Hey, a 5-7.
KFC, it's finger-licking good.
Family Finance has been serving the people of Guam since 1959, and they'll continue to be there for you in the years to come. Whether you're looking to get a personal loan for that summer vacation or paying off those long overdue bills, Family Finance has got you covered. Apply for a personal loan from $1,000 up to $3,500 by calling Family Finance in Hagåtña at 475-4545, Upper Tuon 647-5626, or in Dededo 633-4473. Family Finance has been serving the people of Guam since 1959.
Water. It covers nearly 3/4 of our Earth, from vast oceans to millions of rivers and streams. We're all concerned with protecting our world's water, but none is more important than the water you and your family drink and use throughout your home. A Connecticut water treatment system can improve your water so that your family is using the best water in the world. Connecticut, for refreshing ideas on water.
American Water Tech. Smarter water. Better water. Call American Water Tech at 649-2301 or email info@americanwatertech.com. As we journey through the new year, we here at APL continue to find ways to better deliver our island's resources with innovative and cost-effective solutions, lending our helping hands by carrying your freight safely from the U.S. mainland or anywhere in our global network. We humbly honor the opportunities to continue to work and connect with you and your business. We are APL, and we are here for you.
When the power goes out on Guam, the little thing can become surprisingly big. Small comforts are often the things we miss most during a power outage. That is why Kohler built the fastest responding generator sets in the industry. Whether you are at home or away, a residential Kohler generator will enable you and your family to live life without interruption. Kohler gas, LPG, and diesel power systems are available from Morrico Equipment, LLC on Epal Road. Call 649-1946. That's 649-1946. Don't forget to click on to morricoequipment.com.
Alpha Day and good morning, Guam. News time here at The Point is 8 minutes past 7 a.m. this Tuesday morning. I'm Kevin Kerrigan. Here's a look now at some of the top stories from the Guam Daily Post. Guam lawmakers yesterday voting to override the governor's veto of a bill requiring the selection of only the most economical health insurance plan for the employees and retirees of the government of Guam. 11 voted for the override. Republican Senators Tommy Morrison, Will Castro, Luis Muña, and Democrat Senator Dennis Rodriguez voted against it. A previous attempt to override the veto failed last June, but now in the face of huge shortfalls in the revenue collections projected for this fiscal year and next, the override won easy approval yesterday. In a statement following the vote, Speaker Benjamin Cruz said, "It's the first in a series of steps that we have to take to save the ship of state." Senator Frank Uggan Jr., meanwhile, said he's always supported choice in health care, but the financial crisis before us and the state of our hospital forced everyone to reconsider yesterday. However, Governor Eddie Calvo countered that the vote leaves the GovGuam family with the cheapest single option for a health insurance plan and deprives them of choice. The governor argued that the savings would be artificial because the cheapest bidder last year didn't provide coverage at Guam Regional Medical City or the Seventh-day Adventist Clinic. While reduced work weeks and across-the-board salary reductions have been identified for possible implementation in the future, Judiciary Management has identified about $3.7 million in immediate cuts that include the suspension of electronic monitoring, reduced court-appointed attorney fees, and closing some services early. The Judiciary's annual budget of $34 million has already taken a hit with delays in its allotments. The court spokesman Sean Gumatautau confirming the judiciary is owed $3.4 million in allotments for the current fiscal year alone. Court Policy Planning and Community Relations Director said that by having to reduce, it is going to impact what the judiciary delivers to the public. He said the judiciary will continue to work to dispense justice and do their best with the resources they have. Since the start of the current fiscal year, the judiciary has suspended recruitment except key positions, suspended electronic monitoring, reduced court-appointed attorney fees, and reduced locally funded travel. We'll have more news after this.
Relax, enjoy, and be greeted by the spectacular view of Hagåtña Bay when you visit the Point at the Sheraton Laguna Guam. Gaze into the beautiful sunset as you unwind to the music of Philip Garcia and Natasha on Wednesdays, Mama Shar and Nina on Thursdays, Philip Garcia and Luis Muñoz on Fridays, and Jack Larimer on Saturdays. Open daily from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Happy hour from 5 to 8 p.m. with all cocktail drinks for $7. Receive a discount when you present your SPG card. Call Peter Yaban at 646-2222 for reservations at the Point at the Sheraton Laguna Guam Resort.
Special things only come around once a year, and it's time for fish fans to celebrate the return of Wendy's Cod Filet Sandwich. Wendy's uses the gold standard for fried fish, wild-caught Northern Pacific cod, breaded with panko crumbs to a light crisp. Add a new creamy dill tartar sauce and crisp pickles, and you've got the fish sandwich many say is the best of the bunch. Get yours today at Wendy's, located in Tamoning, Veragata, Hagåtña, Dededo, and Naval Base. Wendy's Cod Filet. Now that's better.
News time here at The Point is 12 minutes past 7 a.m. Police are seeking the public's help in identifying and locating two men who robbed the RU game room in Veragata Heights early yesterday morning. GPD spokesperson Sergeant Paul Tapau says the Dededo precinct officers responded to a robbery report after 3 a.m. and learned that two men carrying machetes entered the establishment and demanded money from the cashier. The suspects fled in a dark-colored sedan with an undetermined amount of cash. Both suspects described as being skinny and wore dark shirts wrapped around their heads. Anyone with information is asked to call Guam Crime Stoppers at 477-HELP. A woman was abducted, held captive, repeatedly beaten, burned with cigarettes, and sexually assaulted by a man she knew, according to a magistrate's complaint filed in Superior Court yesterday. When the woman escaped, a Good Samaritan brought her to the Guam Police Department's Hagåtña precinct, where she told officers she spent Valentine's Day evening into the early morning hours of February 15th, mentally and physically victimized. Police have arrested 34-year-old tour bus operator Kempo Ditas on allegations of kidnapping, criminal sexual conduct, assault, robbery, and terrorizing. He is being held on $100,000 cash bail. For these stories and more, log on to postguam.com or pick up a copy of today's Guam Daily Post. Right now with the weather.
Today, partly cloudy in the morning, then becoming partly sunny this afternoon. Isolated light showers can be expected. East winds to about 20 miles an hour. Expected daytime highs today, 88 degrees. Tonight, mostly cloudy, isolated showers. Winds east again up to about 20 miles an hour. And overnight lows, 76 degrees. The Ray Gibson Show brought to you by King's Restaurant, serving Guam favorite to families for over 40 years. King's Restaurant, always open and always local.
This KFC chicken is great, Shrimp. Hey, who are you calling Shrimp? KFC's new Shrimp Burger. It's great.
Howdy, folks. KFC's Colonel Sanders here. Try our new Shrimp Burger and all our seafood items available this season. KFC Food Kelequin, breaded shrimp, seafood salad, and of course, we can't forget your one and only favorite KFC original recipe chicken.
All right, I need to try KFC's new Shrimp Burger. Good, because you really are shrimp. Hey! A 5-7.
KFC, it's finger-licking good.
At Micronesia Renewable Energy, values matter. So all of their solar energy systems come with guarantees and the most value. No shortcuts, all quality. It's giving you that solar energy system at the best price. It's using highly efficient solar panels with typhoon-proven racking, built by highly skilled local technicians, so your system performs and saves you money. It's total peace of mind all the time. Not all solar companies are created equal. For experienced quality solar, it's MRE. Call 632-2613. MRE, the smarter choice.
Chili's has the seafood you crave, the flavors you love, at a great price with our 3 for Me Lent menu. For just $15, you can get a beverage, fresh salad, and a Lent-friendly entree. First, choose from a refreshing Coca-Cola, iced tea, or Heineken on draft. Then enjoy a fresh house salad right before you indulge in your choice of a mouth-watering entree, like our spicy shrimp tacos, savory Cajun pasta with shrimp, or our flavorful grilled ancho salmon. Chili's 3 for Me Lent menu for just $15. Available for a limited time. Chili's, more life happens here.
News to fill your mind. Talk to get it out. The Ray Gibson Show.
Well, my. We'll see if we can do a couple of things here. Where's the part where I tell you about what happened in the market? Hold on, that's a whole other folder I got to open up on the web, and I didn't open it. Let me see. What did I have to do? I had to change money when I was in Japan because I needed to make sure I had money for the taxi ride. And I was thinking, yeah, $20 ought to cover it. Yeah, but just barely. But this is interesting here. Now I'm getting word about this Korean cab, which apparently is the best kept secret on Guam that everybody knows. Well, let me just tell you a little bit more about what I'm getting from these from my guys. All right. So you call them up if you have the Korea Cab secret number, and they will drive you to a variety of, quote, institutions. My hands are full, so I can't use air quotes right now, but they will take you to a variety of institutions. And another buddy of mine chimes in. He says, if you want, they'll deliver food. Yes, food delivery. They charge only from pickup to delivery, not from the location of the call to the pickup of the deliveries. So, I mean, I guess you could be in Jigo and say, I want to get something at, McCrout's.
Competition is good, isn't
right?
it? Yeah.
It's very convenient when you're single, very convenient when you're not feeling well. You just, get these guys on a line and everybody's happy. That's too cool. That's too cool. All right, let me take a look at some of the numbers and what's happening on the markets. If I've got this thing all called up right, yeah. Dow Jones Industrial Average up by about 19 points. In trading today, nothing major on the NASDAQ. They're unchanged. S&P 500 up by, a point here. Everything is down in triple-digit fractions. Nikkei is up 428.96 points. That's because I was just there spending some yen. Do I have the currencies for you? Don't have the won or the peso this morning, but as far as the Japanese currencies, 106.58. Yeah, that is about right from what I was looking at. Now, give me half a second, and we'll see if we can find what the numbers are supposed to be in the tapas, because that's what I'm interested in. I don't really care about West Texas crude. For me, the big deal is going to be what's happening in tapas. That's Singaporean oil that turns into Singaporean gasoline, probably the most expensive one that we can get, but it's closest. That's the point. There's cheaper gas that we can buy to bring to our shores, but the problem is it would cost too bloody much to ship. Tapas trading at $66.12. That's up from where it was by $2 the last time I told you the figure. About $64.60 was a figure last time. So $66.12, a little bit of a loss last week that has been taken over now. We've wiped it out. 7:17 in the morning. That's what's happening in the markets. Be right back.
It's Triple J's out with the old and in with the new sales event going on now. Get unbelievable savings on all remaining 2017s, plus many 2018s. Take advantage of our best pricing on all Hondas, Acuras, Fords, Mazdas, Lincolns, Volvos, Kias, and used cars. New cars as low as $137 per paycheck, and used cars as low as $80 per paycheck. Plus no payments for 90 days, 0 down and 1.9% financing on approved credit. Visit us online at triplejguam.com and get pre-approved instantly. Trade-ins welcome. Some conditions apply. See dealer for details. Triple J Auto Group. Customers first.
Right now, traffic building in the usual spots here. Told you about a little bit of a slowdown in front of Anderson Air Force Base. I don't think it's clearing up. You're still going to hit traffic when you get up there, just not as bad as it looked the last time I was eyeballing that place. Route 16 over by Malakuti's place. Looks like traffic on that side of the street might be building up Santos Hill as usual. That area by Sagua Maniagua leading up to St. Anthony School starting to busy up there. There's a lot of school activity going on, a lot of kids getting into and out of cars. And Bank Pacific on the other side of Tamuning. Bank Pacific over by where the old Wise Owl is. We're starting to see some slowdowns there as traffic trying to make its way towards Marine Drive. Right now, traffic, you're hearing it on the point.
When the power goes out on Guam, the little things can become surprisingly big. Small comforts are often the things we miss most during a power outage. That is why Kohler built the fastest responding generator sets in the industry. Whether you are at home or away, a residential Kohler generator will enable you and your family to live life without interruption. Kohler gas, LPG, and diesel power systems are available from Morrico Equipment LLC on Epal Road. Call 649-1946. That's 649-1946. Don't forget to click on to Morrico Equipment TakeCareEquipment.com.
For more than 40 years, we've managed our island's most precious resource, your health. Take Care's benefit plans allow members access to more than 120 medical providers, 40 dental providers, and 18 pharmacies in the region. Take Care's health plans ensure members in Palau, Saipan, and Guam receive the care they deserve. Our programs and wellness classes have proven results for our valued members, and our commitment to your health never been stronger. Take Care, our island, your health plan.
Jerry Roberts coming up with the extra point here in just a second, and but I wanted to at least start this conversation before we moved on to anything else. Sean Gumatautau from the Judiciary of Guam. Good morning, Shawnee. How you doing?
Hey, good morning, Ray, and hey, great show so far.
So far? I mean, so far since we started on February 1st, or so far today?
So far since February 1st.
This my old buddy Shawnee Gumatautau, and worked once upon a time spokesman over in the governor's office, and found himself a nice spot over there at the judiciary. Looks like you guys are beginning to make implementing some cuts and pondering some other cuts down the road. About how much money you think the judiciary might be able to save here?
Well, at this point, our initial savings that we have from measures that we've started since October 1st is around 2.6 or so, and with a couple more we've implemented over the last couple of days, it's going to take us closer to between 3.5 and 3.7 million dollars.
Oh, that ain't bad. And now October the 1st. This goes back. This seems to preconceive any of the Trump tax cuts.
Absolutely. One of the things, and let me just say this, is that as of today, the administration, in terms of our allotment that we're owed for this fiscal year, we're owed just around $3.4 million. So we saw the writing on the wall since the start of the fiscal year, and it really kind of forced us to take these measures a little bit earlier than most people would have wanted to do so at the judiciary.
Well, it's interesting. BJ didn't add that to the list of departments and agencies on the executive side that had missed their allotments as well. He's talking about UOG and GCC and DOE. He could have thrown in the courts, right?
Well, I mean, I think that other branches having their concerns too with allotments, and in all fairness, we've been communicating very closely with the Speaker's office on this whole issue. And that's one of the important things is it's all about cash right now. And I don't want to throw the administration under the bus. They've been working very closely with us to try to give us our allotments based on the schedule that's outlined in the Budget Act. So it's been we're just working together. It's just cash right now.
Yeah, it's spooky though. I mean, if you're not getting your allotments as the third branch of government, if you're not getting your allotments in real time, imagine how much more difficult it's going to be when, as they say in the movie, when winter comes.
Right, and as you recall earlier, or maybe a couple months ago, we sent off a letter to the Speaker telling him that we could not implement the electronic monitoring program. It's about a $551,000 program with our probation services division to be able to help save the executive branch money. Because there's just no cash available.
Why does that cost so much? I thought the idea with the electronic monitoring that it would be something that would be borne by the inmates, the clients themselves.
Well, remember, we got an appropriation in the Budget Act, and so it allowed us, and as we talked to them about this before, the $1,000 incentive.
You're breaking up. You're breaking up, and I'm going to take that as an opportunity to break away. I'll return to the conversation in a little bit. I think the governor is going to be in the building before too much longer, so we can address that and some other points with him having to do with the judiciary, but the rest of this big mess as well. I reserve the opportunity to call you again before the end of the show to get the splains on when it is that you look at measures that are to be implemented, and then the measures that are under consideration for implementation in the future. Some would say, well, you're already thinking about it, might as well do it now and start saving the money as quickly as you can. Tell you what, it's 7:23. One of the other favorite things, and I get so many great compliments about this particular feature in the show. So many people say, you're smart. You got Jerry Roberts and his voice back on the radio. Well, I guess so, huh? It was a good idea that he had. And I said, yeah, we got time for the extra point. So, ladies and gentlemen, here's Jerry Roberts.
How would you like to turn your boss into your mentor? I'm Jerry Roberts, and I'm going to show you how to do exactly that next on The Extra Point. This is one of those ideas that if you do it right, it could pay off in a major way. The dictionary defines mentor as an experienced and trusted advisor. What I'm going to give you now, I just want you to listen. You can download the transcript after we finish. You're going to place a note on the boss's desk saying something like this. Dear boss, I'm looking for an experienced and trusted advisor to help me raise my game, to improve my results in a big way. When it comes to experienced and trusted, the first person I think of is you. I need just a couple of minutes of your time to run an idea by you. How about 9:15 tomorrow morning? Does it sound just a little like you're sucking up to the boss? Okay, just a little. But Jerry, my boss would be a horrible mentor or would have no interest in it. Sorry if that's the case, but are you sure? Maybe it's worth a try to find out. Humor me here. There are 2 reasons to give this a go. Number 1, let's say he or she is a great source of knowledge about your field. Why let that knowledge just sit there? Tap into it. Number 2, you want a better relationship with your boss. If he or she is mentoring you, think that might juice up that relationship a little? You bet. At the meeting, explain that you want to ask questions and pick their brain. You think that will greatly accelerate your success. All you'll need is 15 to 20 minutes a week or a lunch once a month. They share the knowledge, you buy the lunch. Any manager should at least be flattered and likely quite intrigued at the possibilities. People aren't asked to be a mentor every day. If they agree, set the first meeting. Bring a big old yellow pad with lots of questions. Write their answers down and make a plan to implement the good stuff you get. At the next meeting, come back with a report on how you use their ideas and strategies. That shows you are an action taker, and it gives the mentor a payoff for their time. Then ask more questions. Implement those too. Rinse and repeat. Mentoring programs don't have to be any more complicated than this. Keep track of your results and share them with the boss. As the old saying goes, this could be the start of something big. That's the extra point. Get out there and make something good happen today. For 93.3, I'm Jerry Roberts.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate hearing from that. And yourself? No, there's no sucking up in there with the boss. But always a good idea to get on his good side, on the right side. And he can pass along some ideas because it seems to me, and even where I'm at, I like to think at this stage in my career, one of the most important things that I can do is begin to train a replacement. It's 7:27 in the morning. This is The Point. My name is Ray Gibson. Kevin Kerrigan's got some headlines for you in just a second. And I was looking over Facebook, which is one of the things. Hey, there's news on Facebook. There's always stories on Facebook, stuff that you sometimes you don't get anywhere else, or at least leads you to places where you would not normally have gone. And this one is something that I saw, and I might unfriend. I might unfriend the person that stuck it up there, that just shared a link. And I tell you what, in the last week or so, I've unfriended or unfollowed about half a dozen people for just doing stupid things on the internet, passing along bad information, passing along propaganda from one side or the other. I recognize what the middle looks like, but it just annoys me when people are putting out propaganda from the far right and the far left. Check your sources. Check your facts. Sylvester Stallone is not dead. The Rocky actor tells fans he's alive and well and still punching. About 18 months ago, somebody had stuck something up on the social medias that said that he died of prostate cancer, and it's come full circle.
Trying to take me out before my time. Hey, Dad.
So Sly, there's nothing wrong with the guy. He's just old and having a hard time punching the way he did before. Isn't he making a new movie?
I don't know, but he was hyping it up because he's from Philly. He was hyping it up right before this last Super Bowl.
Right.
And they showed him celebrating after they won and stuff. Yeah, he's clearly not dead.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, if he had been at the NBA playoff, that NBA game where Fergie sang the anthem.
Heard that was bad.
Do we have a copy of it around here? I'd like to king of electronic media. I should be able to find it.
It's one of the reasons why I'm not real big on people from the UK singing the national anthem of the United States. It used to be an old bar song.
Singer, right?
Yeah.
I'm just... All right, hold on a second. Let me see if I can find this. You might need to punch up the laptop here and see if I can get my hands on this thing. There's a number of different places where you can hear it. I might not be able to do it now. Tell you what, I'm going to go look for, because it's also possible I might pull up a copy that is not clean, that might have some people swearing, saying, what the blank is that? Even Roseanne Barr says, "You're loving me now, aren't you?"
Oh, wow.
He's digging this because everybody talking about her version, Fergie's terrible version at the NBA game. Get people remembering when Roseanne Barr murdered the anthem. What was it, 25 years ago now? Hey, 7:30 in the morning. This is The Point. The Post has your headlines with Kevin Kerrigan.
Half a day and good morning, Guam. I'm Kevin Kerrigan. And the headlines from the Guam Daily Post this morning: Guam lawmakers yesterday voting to override the governor's veto of a bill requiring the selection of only the most economical health insurance plan for the employees and retirees of the government of Guam. The vote was 11-4. Republican Senators Tommy Morrison, Will Castro, Luis Muña, and Democrat Senator Dennis Rodriguez voting against overriding the veto. A previous attempt to override failed last June, but now in the face of huge shortfalls in the revenue collections projected for this fiscal year and next, the override won easy approval yesterday. In a statement following the vote, Speaker Benjamin Cruz said this is the first in a series of steps we have to take to save the ship of state. Senator Frank Uggan Jr., meanwhile, said he's always supported choice in health care, but the financial crisis before us and the state of our hospital forced everyone to reconsider yesterday. However, Governor Eddie Calvo countered that the vote leaves the GovGuam family with the cheapest single option for a health insurance plan and deprives them of choice. The governor also argued that the savings would be artificial because the cheapest provider last year did not provide coverage at Guam Regional Medical City or the Seventh-day Adventist Clinic. Employers in need of skilled foreign labor are being encouraged to file applications for H-2B workers now. The USCIS accepting applications for build-up-related projects, and last month's district court decision opens the door for employers in need of skilled labor for non-build-up-related work. Guam DOL Alien Labor Administrator Greg Massey telling the Post yesterday that 7 local employers have already filed petitions for labor certifications for more than 1,300 H-2B workers. A 19-year-old man was arrested for leaving an injured 9-year-old pedestrian on the road after a crash on Sunday evening in Umanik. Kobe Joe Ignacio Taman was allegedly drunk when his car hit the boy. Police say the 9-year-old was transported to the hospital for injuries from the crash. Taman was arrested on numerous charges, including suspicion of DUI, leaving the scene of an accident with injuries, underage consumption of alcohol, and no driver's license. For these stories and more, log on to postguam.com or pick up a copy of today's Guam Daily Post.
This KFC chicken is great, Shrimp. Hey, who are you calling Shrimp? KFC's new Shrimp Burger. It's great.
Howdy, folks. KFC's Colonel Sanders here. Try our new Shrimp Burger and all our seafood items available this season. KFC Food Kelequin, breaded shrimp, seafood salad, and of course, we can't forget your one and only favorite KFC original recipe chicken.
All right, I need to try KFC's new Shrimp Burger. Good, because you really are shrimp. Hey, a 5-7.
KFC, it's finger-licking good.
Water. It covers nearly 3/4 of our Earth. From vast oceans to millions of rivers and streams, we're all concerned with protecting our world's water. But none is more important than the water you and your family drink and use throughout your home. A Connecticut water treatment system can improve your water so that your family is using the best water in the world. Connecticut, for refreshing ideas on water.
American Water Tech. Smarter water. Better water. Call American Water Tech at 649-2301 or email info@americanwatertech.com. As we journey through the new year, we here at APL continue to find ways to better deliver our island's resources with innovative and cost-effective solutions, lending our helping hands by carrying your freight safely from the U.S. mainland or anywhere in our global network. We humbly honor the opportunities to continue to work and connect with you and your business. We are APL, and we are here for you.
For more than 40 years, we've managed our island's most precious resource, your health. Take Care's benefit plans allow members access to more than 120 medical providers, 40 dental providers, and 18 pharmacies in the region. Take Care's health plans ensure members in Palau, Saipan, and Guam receive the care they deserve. Our programs and wellness classes have proven results for our valued members, and our commitment to your health never been stronger. Take Care, our island, your health plan.
Chili's has the seafood you crave, the flavors you love, at a great price with our 3 for Me Lent menu. For just $15, you can get a beverage, fresh salad, and a Lent-friendly entree. First, choose from a refreshing Coca-Cola, iced tea, or Heineken on draft. Then enjoy a fresh house salad right before you indulge in your choice of a mouth-watering entree, like our spicy shrimp tacos, savory Cajun pasta with shrimp, or our flavorful grilled ancho salmon. Chili's 3 for Me Lent menu for just $15. Available for a limited time. Chili's, more life happens here.
It's 7:35. A little bit of a reunion going on here in the studios, and I'm looking over the traffic situation right now. I'm sure it'll feel like a reunion on some of the roadways that you are on as we make our way into Tuesday morning now. And I don't see any places where traffic is really building up. It's slowing down in some places, and that's because it's Tuesday morning at 7:35. So if you're stuck in it, that's why. No accidents to tell you about. All of the traffic lights seem to be working. So I think it's just a question of you getting from point A to point B. Speaking of the point, thanks for listening to it. As we journey through the new year, we here at APL continue to find ways to better deliver our island's resources with innovative and cost-effective solutions, lending our helping hands by carrying your freight safely from the U.S. mainland or anywhere in our global network. We humbly honor the opportunities to continue to work and connect with you and your business. We are APL, and we are here for you.
Chili's has the seafood you crave, the flavors you love, at a great price with our 3 for Me Lent menu. For just $15, you can get a beverage, fresh salad, and a Lent-friendly entree. First, choose from a refreshing Coca-Cola, iced tea, or Heineken on draft. Then enjoy a fresh house salad right before you indulge in your choice of a mouth-watering entree, like our spicy shrimp tacos, savory Cajun pasta with shrimp, or our flavorful grilled ancho salmon. Chili's 3 for Me Lent menu for just $15. Available for a limited time. Chili's, more life happens here.
Try not to speak in sound bites this morning. Hey, welcome to the program. It's the Ray Gibson Show on the point. I keep wanting to say post Kevin Kerrigan standing yonder over there in his chair right now is none other than the governor of Guam, Eddie Jerome Baza Calvo. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning. Buenos and Hafa and Ray. Welcome back to the talk show circuit. This reminds me of what's his name, Fox. The young guy, Back to the Future.
Michael J. Fox.
Michael J. Fox, because I started my gubernatorial run and actually my career with you as a talk show host. And then as the 8 years have moved along, you were doing other things, and now you're back in my last year as a governor. So it's nice to see you again.
Well, it's great to have you. I remember the morning. I remember the morning after the election, and you and Ray came up to the 8th floor at the old studios and had a great time. And I remember, one of the questions I was asking was, what do you guys think you're going to be able to do? There's no money in the treasury. This thing was. I remember talking with Frank Ariola, your former chief, at the inauguration, going, "There's no. You guys have no cash. What are you going to do?"
Yeah, time flies. And again, we believe we've righted the ship. And Guam had, over the past 8 years, the economy's grown by about $1 billion in the gross island product, and unemployment has gone down from 13% to 4.5%. We've got about 1,500 more workers even though it's smaller Gov Guam, even though H2 workers are out 1,500, we still have, I think the most recent labor statistics show 1,500 more workers in the workforce. So the economy has grown, and you have a strong economy, and and what I believe good fiscal management that we've exercised over the past 8 years, and the right policies, and building a stable community, things will go in the right direction, and they have.
But in the last, it's like the last act.
It's like a Greek tragedy.
The last days, you get this salvo from Washington D.C. But we'd seen it coming. But
no one really knew, because remember they've been talking about
what the numbers were going to be.
They were talking about in this first year of Trump. It was. Get rid of Obamacare, get something else. So we were all saying, what the heck's going to happen with Obamacare? Because even those, the inequities have I'll give you an example. We were thinking about, Medicaid, Medicare. So here's Guam. More workers. The wages have gone up. But because of the Affordable Health Care Act and the expansion of Medicaid, you would think with lower unemployment, higher, more workers getting paid more, that you would see Medicaid shrink. We got an additional 10,000 while I was governor on Medicaid enrollees. It had everything to do by raising the threshold on eligibility. So and of course because of the inequity, it was about $500 million that the total billing since I've been governor, about $500 million in Medicaid. And if it was a state of Guam, we probably would have paid at the most about $70 million into it. But because we're the territory of Guam, we had to put $250 million, $200 million plus in our matching to support, again, this mandate on Medicaid. So we were thinking, okay, where's that going to go? And with what we were hearing in Congress, he was talking about tax cuts, but it was a lot of talk too. That thing failed. So before the holiday period, it's more talk, and they're talking about it, and then in the beginning of the year, and it happened quick. But even then, we didn't know what it was. Now the impact,
and this is a conversation that we've had.
Everybody's asking, Ray. We had, and we can go into the whole debate on a fiscal year surplus or deficit. But for fiscal year 2017, ending in September 30, 2017, despite the H-2Bs leaving dramatically, despite some of the hiccups on the tourism industry because of Kim Jong-un, we still managed to, and it's all preliminary, but we're looking at a $17 million surplus, which would bring our accumulated deficit down to $88 million.
But that's not cash, is it?
It's more a paper deficit.
Yeah.
So,
okay,
they're basically,
but
cash flow is what's going to hit us. So everyone's saying, how could you have brought down the deficit from $330 million? Now you had a surplus this year.
Oh, BJ says because you were short on the allotments.
That's what he's saying.
Sean Gumatauta said they were behind $3 million.
Hey, I want to thank him, because working with his budgets and keeping revenue estimates in line, we're managed surpluses. But I digress into what the topic matter is.
Oh yeah. I'm just saying.
The island of Guam in the past 7.5 years has been in a very positive trajectory. And it's not just on government finances and stability and services, but it's an island in totality. Tourism's going up. There was big construction activity before the H2 crisis, but there is, we do believe it's going to come back.
Ratings agencies said so.
But what happened was, and this is what I think I'm a little bit disappointed. Talk show is supposed to be, that's where you see the emotion. That's where you see sometimes the exclamation points. This is kind of like the old style, how it used to be in Guam, where they didn't have the internet, where the politicians like me and my dad and my grandfather go out into the streets and you shake hands and you hug the people, and there's sweat and there's talking and there's yelling. The talk show has kind of taken that.
That's why I got back on the air, because I didn't think that that we were doing there, that there was going to be the town hall. Yeah. Now
sometimes lately the newspapers
in their editorial sections
I'll tell you. First of all, the reason why I'm out here now and talking in the talk show and inviting questions is because both of our newspapers, especially their editorials, have become virulently emotional and throwing out a lot of generalities that, and it's most
Have they
particularly.
lied? Have they lied?
Okay, I'll tell you, if they are untrue, they are untrue. But I can't hand it to the Post. The Post keeps it in their editorials. When they have news stories, they report both sides. My problem with the Pacific Daily News is that over my several years as a governor, when there are stories, when you provide information, and that information should be a part of the news story that is relevant, and it's not, then you have committed a serious omission of fact. And I think the media, particularly how it was envisioned in a democracy, it is another pillar of representative democracy, keeping track of government. But they're also, look at what's happening with Fox and CNN. You're having the news intersperse with the editorials, and it becomes very complicated. I do believe PDN has had that problem over several years. So at least with the Post, they've separated their news stories from an editorial. But if you're going to, I believe that Gaynor, I believe that Mindy are intelligent people. I believe their boss.
Well, you better say Kevin is too. He's right there.
Oh, Kevin. Oh, you're okay. I believe you're intelligent people. Kevin, you're the Post. Let me tell you, when you have an editorial that says insulting because it's a tax increase, and I pointed this out on another radio station yesterday. If time was to start with when Governor Calvo, myself, introduces a bill for 2% up in BPT, then you're right. That's a tax increase. It's a massive tax increase from 4% BPT to 6%.
50%.
50%. If the media and the editorial were to say it's insulting to intelligence, what I call it is malevolent incompetence by the editor. And I'll tell you why. If you were to go 1 month back in time, when the Trump Tax Act was effectuated, not through an act of our legislature, not through a governor's executive order, there was a massive tax decrease in all of the United States, including Guam. Corporate income taxes were nearly halved. Personal and withholding taxes went down by 3% 1 month previously. The impact on the government of Guam's coffers, when you look at that, and I go back to personal, withholding, and corporate.
Yes.
That encapsulates the largest revenue for government of Guam. And before the change in the status quo, it was about $550 million is taken in by those income taxes. That's $500 million. That was a massive tax decrease, not initiated through local policy, but federal policy. So when you see that trending, and this is not even from the Speaker's office, that even for the remainder of this year, we're going to have about a $60 to $70 million shortfall. Well, that's not a shortfall. It's money that is going to be kept in the pockets of our people, our citizens, our business. Good. But it is 60 to 70 million less in taxes. If you take it out now through the whole year, you're looking at $100+ million in reduction of taxes. So for an editor for the Post to call it insulting on a massive tax increase and don't call it equalization, what do you call it, Mr. Gibson, is when you see a reduction of $100+ million.
That's academic, Ed.
No, but it's reality.
Academic. Well, the reality is
the bottom line. No, but let me complete here.
What?
If
you asked me a question.
Okay.
And so my answer is, based on what you were talking about, it is a tax increase. You were going from 4 to 6% of the, and that is an increase in the BPT. You can call it an equalization if you want to, but the fact is the tax is going up.
Now let me ask you this: a question.
That is an increase.
Okay, now if you want to separate,
this number is smaller. This number is bigger.
Let me ask you this then, since you're an intelligent man, if you have 120 million in reductions in one side, and you have 120 million in increases in the other side. And the net effect is equalization, except for one particular area, which I've been fighting for 2 years. 0.75% to fund a hospital that was 30 to 35 million in continuum. So I look you straight in the eyes, and you tell me about raising taxes and talk about equalization. If it were to go down in one area and it were to go up in one area, and the net effect is basically where we were at, is that a massive tax increase? I'm asking you that question.
The word?
No, be very clear. I'm talking about, forget about,
I know what you're saying.
But read the editorial about insulting. Who is malevolently incompetent?
I don't know that
it's not me. No, I'm saying, look, in the net
I
effect,
don't know who's writing this stuff.
But you have to agree with me at least in one thing. If the revenues total in taxes are the same, then where is the massive tax increase?
You're looking at it from a different side of the equation.
But I'm talking at numbers. The whole thing is a numbers game for me, because a government is expected to provide services. And I think we did pretty good to get us from $330 million accumulated deficit to $80 million. I wanted to zero it out, but we didn't. And if we can provide better services, we are living within our means. And then all of a sudden, I say it's like driving a car, and you're following the speed limit. And you're going 45 miles per hour in Guam, 35 miles per hour. And you're driving along on the right side of the road. But because President Trump and Congress decided to run a red or just change it because they can, and it blindsides this government. And you know the interestingest thing too. Let me just since we want to talk about generators.
Well, I know, but I'd like
let me just finish this. Let me just finish this.
I'd like to get in a couple because we need to move from where we are, whatever we call it.
If the net effect is that the revenues to the government of Guam will be the same, forget the whatever, except for maybe 30 to 40 million to pay for a hospital, is that a massive tax increase? And is it insulting to the public that I said it was equalization?
Whether I'm personally not insulted, but I can see how people will say there's a play on words there.
No,
we're we've agreed to disagree in the past. We're gonna agree.
No, but
disagree.
It's math. No, but I'm going back. We can't disagree on math.
It's not
ladies
math.
And gentlemen. No, it's math. Because how do you say? Okay, look at this.
I got a
Let me show you.
Old daughter in school, and she's gonna look at this number, and it's 4, and that number is gonna be 6.
And then she's gonna look at
increased.
your employees. And they're going to look at Payless employees and Moylan's employees, and everyone's going to get a paycheck. And guess what? They're not already going to. They have. And the paycheck now is more. Now, the paycheck is more, but you know why the paycheck is more? It's not because your radio station or Moylan's, Bobby Shringy, or Payless gave them a raise. It's because the government has not taken as much money out. And then when any one of these companies who had calculated paying 35% the year before now makes a payment for taxes, guess what? It's not at 35%, it's 21%. I don't know about you, but when you go from 35 to 21, does that not sound like a massive tax decrease? And then when you look at the numbers, let's look at not subtitle A and B and C and 1. Look at totality, and in the same time, in the end, it's equalization.
I see what you're trying to get at.
And it's simple. It's math.
I see what you're trying to get.
And Ray, I think your 13-year-old daughter would say, "Daddy, why?" And then you would say exactly what the governor's saying. Well, baby, there was this decrease in taxes that make up for the revenue to operate the government of Guam, education, public safety, public health.
I got 7 minutes. I got 7 minutes before the next Fox newscast, and so I want to see if we can get past this.
Sure.
Because this is just, as I said, it's semantics, it's academics.
It's math.
Well, you're angry because you're angry, Governor, because you're on the wrong side of an editorial.
But can I tell you why I'm not angry? I'm not angry. I'm passionate. Because the ship of state is stable. What we're talking are decisions right now that could mean furloughs. It could mean layoffs. It could mean degradation of services. When I came in here, we had 1, maybe 2 ambulances working. We didn't have enough police cars out there to patrol. We didn't have a fire truck in every station. So this is deadly serious to me. If there's going to be a discussion And it starts with editors saying crazy things like insult to intelligence. Then we have to come out here and with passion, because in the end, the decisions I make or that legislature makes is life or death. Just look at the hospital. I am passionate, not angry, passionate.
Will there be, and I'm going to use your word now, equalization between the people that are receiving these tax credits, who are seeing more in their paycheck? We see more corporate money, the corporations, the businesses, mine, yours, Bobby Shringy's. Will we begin to see those dollars circulating better in the economy, which was the way they looked at it on the macro side? So I know how I am, and any increase, any additional dollars that I get in my check is going to get spent. I know how I am as a businessman. If I have an opportunity, if I'm saving 20-30% on my corporate taxes, I'm going to buy more monitors for the studio. I'm going to buy more toys.
Remember,
for
it's
the
a
radio
stimulus.
station.
It's a stimulus package. President Trump wants to get from this
part one of the stimulus.
He doesn't want this 3% growth or 2% growth. He wants to go to like Asian style, which is 6 or 7. So what it was, this whole tax thing was stimulus, and what it's supposed to. And I even told my people, do some work on that. So obviously, if you have, let's say, 120 to 200 million, I'm just throwing out numbers that are now kept in the pockets of businesses and regular. If we were to just if they were to, let's say, spend it, so there would be a BPT increase. But remember, if you have $100 million additional spending, the BPT is $4 million, 4%. If you're keeping at the status quo, if it's $200 million, then you have $8 million in BPT. Now, there is also the multiplier effect, remember? So I even did a calculation. Okay, if it's 120 million and there's a multiplier in the economy of a 2.5. So what is that? 1, 2, let's say
250 million.
250 million. Yeah. So you're looking at 8, 9, 10, but maybe between 10 and 12 million positive effect on your business privilege tax. These are very simple calculations, but does that make for the difference if you have now this big reduction on the 67 million that it looks like for this year and maybe 100 plus for next year? You know how
I think we're going to have to forego some things, buddy. I think we're going to have, I recognize that there are things that
how many more minutes?
I got another 2.5 minutes between here and there, but
I'm going to stick around here if you don't mind.
I don't have anybody else coming in.
Okay.
You can stick around. Okay. Phone calls, huh?
Okay.
888-8255.
One thing
in the next hour,
on Trump, and I just want to see how they work this for Trump and Congress, and that's why the
they print money.
The Tea Party,
That's
But
the
did
other
you know
part.
how much this cost? Well, to be out, I say trillion. It's actually they had to borrow $894 billion. That is to pay for the reduction on revenues, but to keep services from going to the tank.
Status quo. And again,
that's printing money.
They've got access to their own cash. They've got access to their own printing presses. The government of Guam doesn't necessarily have those luxuries. We're not quite tapped out on borrowing, but I'm on the same side of people that are sitting there saying maybe now is not the right time to pursue anything else. But the gist of some of the other conversations that we have is we need to very carefully start pulling out the ideas, the best of the ideas that we all have as a community on how we're going to save money. Because I worry, you start talking about business, the BPT increases or equalization or whatever you want to call it. Well, I've already been equalized out of some additional gas tax money. I've already been equalized out of my, I've got my power bills that are going to be going up again. And so, any of that additional revenue that Trump gave me, I'm already upside down on that.
But
so
that's why
there needs to be more on the saving side. There needs to be collections. There needs to be better collections of the revenues that are out there waiting to get paid.
By the way, we have a 24-month sunset period. That's why we're right now, because of this, it's like a left hook.
You're not going to be the governor anymore, so I don't trust anybody. If it was you that said, I'm going to be here in 24 months, and I promise you, Ray, that this number will change, we'll make it go backwards, then fine. But I don't trust anybody else to be able to say that there's going to be a sunset period, because I know the government will kind of enjoy having a couple extra dollars to spend.
3 or 4 auditors, 3 or 4 examiners at Rev and Tax. So we've been doing a lot more. Well, those are you need the auditors and examiners to collect, and they've done a great job. And I think it was one of the gubernatorial candidates, I won't mention the name, met with me earlier and said, "What about your receivables?" I said, "Hey, you're right. The $100 million. When you take a look at $900 million in total revenues, and you have $100 million in receivables, and you can't pick your customer.
Well, you're gonna have to wrap up the thought on the other side of the Fox News. I got that coming up.
It's not insurmountable.
We'll leave it at receivables. Governor Eddie Jerome Mazzucchello with me in the studios of KUSG. We are The Point. Fox News is next.
Live from New York, The Fox Report.
The White House today indicating President Trump is supportive of discussions about improving background checks for gun purchases.
Less than a week after the Florida school shooting that killed 17 people, President Trump said in a statement that he is supportive of efforts to improve the federal background check system for gun purchases. White House spokesman Raj Shah, meanwhile, says the FBI needs to answer some tough questions.
They need to look into exactly what happened, why this information that was clearly given to somebody at a call center was not forwarded to the Miami field office.
The president's only action on guns as president eliminated a regulation that required the Social Security Administration to disclose information quarterly to the National Gun Background Check System about certain people with mental illness.
Fox's John Decker at the White House. Confessed Florida school shooter Nicholas Cruz was in court earlier this afternoon. Lawyers discussed how certain documents would be sealed during his trial. The judge saying she would prefer documents be public whenever possible. Cruz remains jailed without bond on 17 counts of premeditated murder. There are serious concerns Russia is actively trying to meddle in this year's midterm elections. Fox's Peter Ducey.
Election officials from across the country spent the long weekend trying to figure out how to stop Moscow from meddling in the midterms. And the intel community had a classified briefing hosted by the FBI, DHS, and Director of National Intelligence, who said in a statement that this classified session was all about, quote, increasing awareness of foreign adversary intent and capabilities against the state election infrastructure, as well as a discussion of threat mitigation efforts.
Last week, Special Counsel Robert Mueller indicted 13 Russian nationals for interfering in the 2016 presidential election. You're on the Fox Report. Fair and balanced.
I'm in almost every school bus and classroom. I go to school with your children. We say the Pledge of Allegiance together. You see me around the neighborhood and you tell me that I'm a pretty good kid. Well, I'm one out of every 5 children in America, and I'm struggling with hunger. This problem is closer than you think. My teacher tells me we can grow up to be whatever we want. I want to grow up to be someone who doesn't go to bed hungry. There's enough food in this country to feed everybody. Please visit feedingamerica.org today and find your local food bank for ways to help. Every dollar you donate helps provide 8 meals for kids like me, quietly struggling with hunger. Together, we are Feeding America, brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
A Rhode Island Republican state senator pleading not guilty to coercing sex from a male Senate page in 2011. 27-year-old state Senate Minority Whip Nicholas Kettle was arraigned today on 2 counts of extortion. The state's Democratic Senate president saying if Kettle doesn't resign, the Senate will move to expel him. A raffle of an AR-15 rifle by a Missouri youth group is still on.
His heart breaks for the victims killed in last week's deadly shooting in Parkland, Florida. But gun raffles have been going on for years. That's what Coach Levi Patterson tells the Kansas City Star of the fundraiser for his 3rd grade baseball team and Neosho in southwestern Missouri that he says had been planned long before last week's shooting. He says none of his players ages 7 to 9 will be forced to sell tickets for the raffled AR-15 rifle. The firearm was offered up by a player's father, who's a co-founder of a local gun store. The winner would have to pass a background check. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
Carnival Cruise Lines looking at their cruise response to a number of shipboard brawls.
23 passengers kicked off the Carnival legend during a voyage in the South Pacific after a series of violent fights broke out. Dramatic video obtained by Australian radio station 3AW shows a group of passengers throwing punches. A crew member and a security guard are seen trying to break it up, repeatedly kicking a guest on the floor. Carnival has apologized and launched an investigation, saying in a statement, "Our security team responded in several instances to extremely unruly behavior by these guests while the ship was at sea. The actions seen on the video by our security team are not in line with our values and policies."
Fox's Kristen Goodwin. Well, it's finger-licking gone across the pond. Most of the 900 Kentucky Fried Chicken outlets in the United Kingdom and Ireland forced to close today because of a chicken shortage. I'm Rich Dennison, Fox News Radio.
Water. It covers nearly 3/4 of our Earth. From vast oceans to millions of rivers and streams, we're all concerned with protecting our world's water. But none is more important than the water you and your family drink and use throughout your home. A Connecticut water treatment system can improve your water so that your family is using the best water in the world. Connecticut, for refreshing ideas on water.
American Water Tech. Smarter water. Better water. Call American Water Tech at 649-2301 or email info@americanwatertech.com.
Relax, enjoy, and be greeted by the spectacular view of Hagåtña Bay when you visit the point at the Sheraton Laguna Guam. Gaze into the beautiful sunset as you unwind to the music of Philip Garcia and Natasha on Wednesdays, Mama Shar and Nina on Thursdays, Philip Garcia and Luis Muñoz on Fridays, and Jack Larimer on Saturdays. Open daily from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Happy hour from 5 to 8 p.m. with all cocktail drinks for $7. Receive a discount when you present your SPG card. Call Peter Yaban at 646-2222 for reservations at the point at the Sheraton Laguna Guam Resort.
When the power goes out on Guam, the little things can become surprisingly big. Small comforts are often the things we miss most during a power outage. That is why Kohler built the fastest responding generator sets in the industry. Whether you are at home or away, a residential Kohler generator will enable you and your family to live life without interruption. Kohler gas, LPG, and diesel power systems are available from Morrico Equipment LLC on Epal Road. Call 649-1946. That's 649-1946. Don't forget to click on to MorricoEquipment.com.
Special things only come around once a year, and it's time for fish fans to celebrate the return of Wendy's Cod Filet Sandwich. Wendy's uses the gold standard for fried fish, wild-caught Northern Pacific cod, breaded with panko crumbs to a light crisp. Add a new creamy dill tartar sauce and crisp pickles, and you've got the fish sandwich many say is the best of the bunch. Get yours today at Wendy's, located in Tamuning, Veragata, Hagåtña, Dededo, and Naval Base. Wendy's Cod Filet. Now that's better.
At Micronesia Renewable Energy, values matter. So all of their solar energy systems come with guarantees and the most value. No shortcuts, all quality. It's giving you that solar energy system at the best price. It's using highly efficient solar panels with typhoon-proven racking, built by highly skilled local technicians, so your system performs and saves you money. It's total peace of mind all the time. Not all solar companies are created equal. For experienced quality solar, it's MRE. Call 632-2613. MRE, the smarter choice.
Hafa-day and good morning, Guam. News time here at the Post is 8 minutes past 8 a.m. this Tuesday morning. I'm Kevin Kerrigan. Here's a look now at some of the top stories from the Guam Daily Post. Guam lawmakers yesterday voting to override the governor's veto of a bill requiring the selection of only the most economical health insurance plan for the employees and retirees of the government of Guam. 11 voted for the override. Republican Senators Tommy Morrison, Will Castro, Luis Muñoz, and Democrat Senator Dennis Rodriguez voted against it. A previous attempt to override the veto failed last June, but now in the face of huge shortfalls in the revenue collections projected for this fiscal year and next, the override won easy approval yesterday. In a statement following the vote, the Speaker of the legislature, Senator Benjamin Cruz, said, "This is the first in a series of steps we must take to save the ship of state." Senator Frank Uggan Jr., meanwhile, said he's always supported a choice in health care providers, but the financial crisis before us and the state of our hospital forced everyone to reconsider yesterday. However, Governor Eddie Calvo countered that the vote leaves the GovGuam family with the cheapest single option for a health insurance plan and deprives them of choice. The governor also argued that the savings would be artificial because the cheapest bidder last year did not provide coverage at Guam Regional Medical City or the Seventh-day Adventist Clinic. Employers in need of skilled foreign labor are being encouraged to file applications for H-2B workers now. The USCIS now accepting applications for build-up-related projects. And last month's district court decision opens the door for employers in need of skilled labor for non-build-up-related work. Guam DOL Alien Labor Administrator Greg Massey says 7 local employers have already filed petitions for labor certifications for more than 1,300 H-2B workers. First boots on the ground, however, are not expected until May. The Guam judiciary has identified $3.7 million in immediate budget cuts in line with the governor's request to reduce spending in the face of the current fiscal crisis. Among the cuts are the suspension of electronic monitoring, reducing court-appointed attorney fees, and closing some services early. The cost-cutting measures were outlined in a memo to judiciary staff yesterday from Administrator of the Courts John Lizama. Overall, the judiciary has identified a 10% reduction in expenditures that officials admit will slow the wheels of justice. We'll have more news after this.
This KFC chicken is great, Shrimp. Hey, who are you calling Shrimp? KFC's new Shrimp Burger. It's great.
Howdy, folks. KFC's Colonel Sanders here. Try our new shrimp burger and all our seafood items available this season. KFC Food Kelequin, breaded shrimp, seafood salad, and of course, we can't forget your one and only favorite KFC original recipe chicken.
All right, I need to try KFC's new Shrimp Burger. Good, because you really are shrimp. Hey, a 5-7.
KFC, it's finger-licking good.
It's Triple J's out with the old and in with the new sales event going on now. Get unbelievable savings on all remaining 2017s, plus many 2018s. Take advantage of our best pricing on all Hondas, Acuras, Fords, Mazdas, Lincolns, Volvos, Kias, and used cars. New cars as low as $137 per paycheck, and used cars as low as $80 per paycheck. Plus no payments for 90 days, 0 down and 1.9% financing on approved credit. Visit us online at triplejguam.com and get pre-approved instantly. Trade-ins welcome. Some conditions apply. See dealer for details. Triple J Auto Group. Customers first.
News time here at The Point is 11 minutes past 8 a.m. A woman was abducted, held captive, repeatedly beaten, burned with cigarettes, and sexually assaulted by a man she knew, according to a magistrate's complaint filed in Superior Court yesterday. When the woman escaped, a Good Samaritan brought her to the Guam Police Department, where she told officers that she had spent Valentine's Day evening and the early morning hours of the following day mentally and physically victimized. Police have arrested a 34-year-old tour bus operator, Kempo Ditas, on allegations of kidnapping, criminal sexual conduct, assault, robbery, and terrorizing. He's being held on a $100,000 cash bail. Police are seeking the public's help in identifying and locating 2 men who robbed the RU game room in Barragata Heights early yesterday morning. GPD spokesperson Sergeant Paul Tapau says Dededo precinct officers responded to a robbery report after 3 a.m. and learned that 2 men carrying machetes entered the establishment, demanded money from the cashier. The 2 suspects fled in a dark-colored sedan with an undetermined amount of cash. Both suspects were described as being skinny and wore a dark shirt wrapped around their heads. Anyone with information asked to call Guam Crime Stoppers at 477-HELP. For these stories and more, log on to postguam.com or pick up a copy of today's Guam Daily Post. Ray now with the weather.
Oh, you wanted me to do weather. Did you see it this morning? Because that's what it's going to be for the rest of the day. Partly cloudy skies, then partly sunny in the afternoon, isolated light showers. Winds east up to about 20 miles an hour. And daytime highs, 88 degrees. Cooler tonight, about 76 degrees. News and weather together on The Point. Governor
Chili's
Jerome
has the
Bozacalvo
seafood you
next.
crave, the flavors you love, at a great price with our 3 for Me Lent menu. For just $15, you can get a beverage, fresh salad, and a Lent-friendly entree. First, choose from a refreshing Coca-Cola, iced tea, or Heineken on draft. Then enjoy a fresh house salad right before you indulge in your choice of a mouth-watering entree, like our spicy shrimp tacos, savory Cajun pasta with shrimp, or our flavorful grilled ancho salmon. Chili's 3 for Me Lent menu for just $15. Available for a limited time. Chili's, more life happens here.
For more than 40 years, we've managed our island's most precious resource, your health. Take Care's benefit plans allow members access to more than 120 medical providers, 40 dental providers, and 18 pharmacies in the region. Take Care's health plans ensure members in Palau, Saipan, and Guam receive the care they deserve. Our programs and wellness classes have proven results for our valued members, and our commitment to your health never been stronger. Take Care. Our island, your health plan.
$7 meal from Circle K. Get your choice of 2 Nathan's all-beef hot dogs or a half-pound Nathan's all-beef footlong, a big wrap bag of chips, and any size Polar Pop. That's a giant deal of a meal, all for only $7. Circle K. Take it easy.
Morning talk that matters. The Ray Gibson Show. Call now. 888-TALK. That's 888-8255.
Yes, say the words cost reductions. I'm getting that on the Facebook chat.
Sure.
So it's all over the place. Ray Gibson on the point with Governor Calvo, and I'm going to apologize for that coffee. I realized because I had a little bit left over, and I thought, oh, it looks strong and black, and it came out. That's
black coffee. Gets me passionate.
It's just wimpy.
This is not this is not wimpy coffee.
You come by the radio station.
I love
get
the
it.
cup, but if you know, folks, it gives us a more sensitive side of me. You can't see it.
It gets some of that on. So Oyal, while the news is playing, she says, Ray, you've got to change the screen. I said, because we've got this what they call in the business a lower third, and so the lower third that I have up there originally, and no, I kept it. Because we decided that we were going to keep this here, so that's my lower third. And somewhere around here is going to be yours. There it is. Let me just click on that.
Some high-tech stuff, Ray.
I'm glad. Well, you know what? Because it used to be people either listen to the radio or they didn't listen to the radio. But our goal here is any speaker, any screen, any time. So you'll be able to. As I said, this is on Facebook.
Can you take my jowls off? Take the gray out and get me 3 inches more in height.
Making you look like Lester Carlson now.
Exactly.
Got you looking like Les. Yeah.
Hey, my long lost brother.
My dinger.
TV's fun. Oh, somebody got you coffee. Here. All right. So watch that door. Somebody's going to walk through it and open it up and throw some coffee in here. Rather than spend the time that we've got left talking about Trump and D.C. and all of the issues that floating around that issue, I'm sure you're not the only governor, and you're not going to the NGO this year, right? You're not going to go to the governor's conference.
I missed it. And again, I think what's important with what's happening in Guam, stay over here and get the job done with particular to the issue on stabilization and government.
Smart move.
But it was an opportunity because usually every February you go there for the NGA, National Governors Association. There's 2 meetings with President Trump, but those are general meetings. So it's hard to get, a detailed answer to your question or all your questions. But the most important part of it is NGA sets up all these meetings with secretaries.
Yeah.
So you get to meet the secretary of this or the secretary of that, and you can focus on all the issues that are so important to the territory.
Well, I mean, if you had a meeting with the secretary of the Department of Interior, you'd both be wringing your hands though, because I mean they're on the cut side as well on the federal budget.
Yeah, and then also,
and that's going to affect us.
For us, it was Secretary of Treasury because there's a lot of issues I have with Section 30 money, and also to advise them what the impacts of the tax cuts have been on Guam.
But do they care? I mean, I'm of the impression as many times as we have gone to D.C. and moaned and begged and screamed and kicked about EITC and compact reimbursement, all of those things, they fall on deaf ears, and they get more deaf every year.
In particular, my meeting with the Health and Human Services Director, our secretary. We actually working with CMS and with those folks at the hospital, we were able to get these reimbursements for the hospital on Medicaid, Medicare, and it's not the full reimbursement, but I think we've gotten about close to $5 to $7 million, $5 to $7 million on additional reimbursements on audited years from previous. So it does help. Because it brings.
But the governor's got to step in personally and push that button.
Yes, that's how Washington D.C. works, and that you got to do it.
Gillum couldn't do it. He couldn't.
Our
write
people
a letter
can
to
do it,
somebody
but like I said, things.
The more helpful if the governor's there, right?
Ray,
the problem was we know that the reimbursement process was done, all the reconciliations, it was just stuck. So it really did take the governor to get there and make the personal plea for these reimbursements to finally be shaken loose and be provided to Guam. It really...
Remember, there's thousands of communities in the States, and you kind of like how someone once said, hey, man, I better go see the governor because something is just not stuck. And sometimes going to the governor... things get unstuck. So the same thing, it works in a more gargantuan scale in the federal government. The federal government is quite a behemoth. It's right out of Byzantium. It's
Well, with regard to EITC and compact reimbursement, I know that you are working with the congressman on that, and so between you and Madeline, have you guys been able to come up with anything? I think there is this new budget. There's some language
with the EITC and even with Medicaid inequities, the 800-pound gorilla has always been Puerto Rico, but now there has been legislation introduced in the Senate, particularly to the terrible situation that Puerto Rico finds itself in regards to EITC and to Medicare equity. So what we're figuring, if they're going to deal with the 800-pound gorilla
with Puerto Rico,
now is a time to throw in the 2 millimeter and 2 centimeter gnat called Guam.
Little tiny problems
that
in
is
comparison.
not.
But on the scale, the impact that just those two have on Guam are our 800-pound gorillas.
And that's what the concern is too, because as we look now towards an additional $1 trillion in borrowing by the federal government just to fund the tax cuts, obviously you bring this Medicaid equity and the EITC to Puerto Rico. I have no idea what Puerto Rico's EITC is, but I knew their per capita income is much lower than Guam's, and they got about 3.5 million people as opposed to our 165,000 people. But we got to push. We got to push hard. And I'm not through with lawsuits, by the way.
I was going to say,
I'm meeting our circuit.
I was channeling my old boss, Lee Holmes.
God.
Come on, is there somebody here we can sue?
Look what happens with lawsuits. It finally,
with the H-2Bs.
With the H-2Bs. So with the reason why I didn't join in that lawsuit had everything to do because I was still talking to secretaries and able to talk about these. Once I join in a lawsuit, then
wall goes up.
Then the door closes. So I do want to talk to you about Bill 245.
Yeah, I had mentioned while we were in the break, you said, if you could give me just a couple of minutes on 245. I said, yeah, no problem. Because I thought when I printed it out, because I don't remember this being the big opus from Eddie Calvo's office going in. I honestly thought I left some papers in the printer because it came out a little bit too thin. But
it's like equalization with a little extra. It's just one word.
This is how you can tell. That's how you can tell we were boys together. This will be our
80. He's an 80 guy.
In 10 years. Hey, Eddie. When is a raise? When is an increase not an increase? When is an equalization? So is it this measure here that you sent down to the legislature? I know you would have preferred them to go into session the day they got it, vote on it, pass it, and when we're done.
And that's
BJ said no. We're gonna treat this like any other bill. Oh, by the way, here's mine. And then we're going to have these hearings tomorrow for all day long. 9:30, 2 o'clock, and 6 o'clock for everybody that's going to be dressing up for.
And I understand the process that needs to be involved from the legislature. So the only thing I'm a little confused
What did I miss in this?
Well, the thing is,
everybody's got the numbers.
This bill is basically similar to what my people's discussions with Speaker Cruz in our SES meetings. And there was under agreement that, hey, they have this big gap. We got to get it funded. There was an understanding also that, hey, we got to do it. This thing's not forever. We got to put a sunset provision. So our people came out of that meeting and we believe that he understood it very clearly, that we needed this 2% from 4 to 6, and that 1% would be there for governmental operations, stabilizing everything, just keeping the status quo. The other 0.25% would have been committed to Department of Education because of the shortfalls that they were receiving. The 0.75, which is the reason for the editorial, I guess, for massive tax increase, the 0.75, which I've been very consistent since 2 years ago when I introduced the first bill, was to make up for that gap that we saw in the hospital between $30 and $35 million annually. That would fund the Medicaid, Medicare, and MIP and self-pay gaps, which were. Remember I talked about Medicaid, Medicare? basically Medicaid, Medicare will reimburse the hospital about 50 cents on the dollar on average for whatever their billings are. And then there's this great chunk of people that the self-pay that it's, you're not going to get paid. And, so that's.
And we gotta write a new thing on that. We got to get paid. You can't just this is not public. But you've got to go in and
a lot of them are
figure out-
immigrants. A lot of them are.
Then we send a bill to their governments.
Yeah. We've talked about that too.
I know, but we got to stop talking about it and say, okay, we'll get you stable.
Yeah.
That we'll do what we got to do to get you stable, just as is done everywhere else. We'll get you stable, and then you've got to figure out the next place that you're going. And if that means, unfortunately, in some cases, it might mean you're going to have to get yourself medevaced out to the next biggest hospital in Hawaii, where they apparently don't have this problem.
But you know what would need to do? Then you'd have to change the enabling legislation of our hospital. But then you have to ask yourself, as a Guamanian, as a human being. What do you do when a situation where someone is homeless? They come in with a, and usually a lot of these folks that live in the jungle, they come in and they're not in good shape, and it's an emergency room. Emergency room costs are the highest of any cost center in a hospital, and you gotta.
But I asked Dr. Lizama about that last week. We were talking about it. I thought you guys put in one of those urgent care centers over at UMH.
They're doing the triage.
Yeah,
and trying to get. The separation. No, I'm just giving you an example. There are ones that come in and they've either got a rebar stuck in there. There's been a terrible
so the
fight.
rebar in the head, you go to the emergency room.
And then the triage.
For a sore throat, you go to urgent care.
Actually, the whole basis of this medical, the GMH 2.0 was part of how do you get them away from inpatient, which is that low reimbursement rate, to outpatient services when you can get 70 to 90% of the cost of service.
The problem, as I see it, was the message changed. The messaging wasn't good. There was, I think, some great talk going out initially, and things began to unwind when they said, no, you can't see the Joint Commission report. And then we saw the Joint Commission report.
But it started a long time before. It started 2 years. Oh, yeah, it started 2 years ago.
No, I'm saying,
but on the hospital,
but you weren't pushing for the 0.25 on the GRT 2 years ago.
I was 2 years ago. Right. That's why the limited memory
must have been when I started my vacation.
I introduced. You know what happened? Remember, I introduced a bill. I don't know how much time I have, but I introduced a bill. And originally, Speaker Cruz said, okay, in order to fund this hospital, give us your options to fund it. So I sent a package over, but it listed BPT. It listed sin taxes. It listed liquid fuel tax. It listed property tax. It listed everything possible. And you take a pick which one you think of this buffet would work. And then somehow, unfortunately, the legislature and then also the media said Calvo's trying to raise it on everything. So there was such pushback, and I think there was, again, other misconceptions by the public that was trying to raise everything. So we pulled it back. Then I introduced a bill that would focus, okay, you want one solution. Okay, the business privilege tax. I did that April or May of last year, or 2 years ago. I introduced a bill. I said, this is to fund the hospital. And but by the way, it was two parts to it. It was floating the $45 million to pay off their past due obligations that they had so high. The second half was, so we never come back here again because of this shortfall. We want you to,
because we would have kicked up.
So what did they do? They would have kicked it to 4.75. So what happened is they did one portion of it, which was the
loan side.
The loan side, which only paid off the past due obligations and gave us $15 million additional capital for the year. But remember, we're already at $30 million. We're already $30 million shortfall. So we're already shortfall. Once this thing passed, we're already a shortfall $15 million. Then they kicked out the other part and said, no, we want to have hearings. There's a referendum.
Which was the funding side of it. So,
yeah, so
but,
that's where,
but that's as I said, I think there was an issue with messaging. It sounded good. Then the whole upside down thing with the Joint Commission and everybody reading the report, coming to other conclusions than I think what the hospital wanted us to see. So I think that.
But guess what?
That poisoned the conversation.
But we could have.
I'm not saying you can't still have it at the legislature.
But you know why I did? Then I introduced a bill for taxing Calvo Insurance, taxing Pepsi or Midpack, taxing Bank of Guam, and it was because I introduced that bill because B.J. Cruz and the Democratic leadership said, no, before we touch anything on any increase, you look at exemptions. And I've been working with the Speaker's office and with Senator Rodriguez, and this was last year, maybe at fall time, maybe October, November.
Oh, I didn't like any of the places.
But see what
where they
happened?
were looking.
Yeah, but I just needed a vehicle because they wouldn't hear my other bill on the 0.75. So I've been always upfront and sincere, and then obviously we get a left hook. The effort was always there.
Leaving the GMH conversation aside, I wonder what's going to happen when this all gets done at the legislature. I think I've heard you more than once quote as watching sausage getting made. But let's talk about what can be done now that we are in this situation. The messaging that I am getting on Facebook from people that are watching the show, even people that are watching the show from the other radio stations, the question that I'm getting is, what are we going to do about revenue enhancement? What are we going to do about collecting the monies that are out there? As you said, the Department of Revenue and Taxation has got the auditing people in place, and they've got to go through, and that's not a quick process, unfortunately. So it's going to be a while before we start seeing these. But some of the gaming revenues, as the OPA has pointed out, those numbers have gone over the ledge for no good reason. We don't have very good surveillance on how much money is going through these businesses.
Because of this change of the tax code of the United States, we need to now, obviously, my idea is stabilize the ship estate, only using BPT as a temporary measure, this up 4 to 6, as we craft long-term solutions. Could be delinkage, but even with delinkage, where do we want to go? I've never been for, and I stated this to my people, because of
I don't think you and I've ever liked the idea of
my
delinking.
beliefs on we need to, what is Trump trying to do? He's trying to stimulate to grow the economy.
It'd take us, at the rate that we are cooperating these days, it would take us 5 years to come up with a good delinking plan.
Yeah. But so what do we do, folks? We have to look at options, growing new industries, and I'm the one that may not philosophically believe in it, but it's about providing a stable government and a stable community. We got to start looking at marijuana, and maybe the medicinal side. Maybe you have to do recreational, or leisure, and then there's less regulation in it because it's not a controlled substance like prescription medicine. It'd be more treated like alcohol and tobacco, and it can be
when
taxed.
the Department of Justice comes after us and says, "What are you doing?" We say, "Look where you left us. You didn't give us any options here."
Hey,
we talked to you about EITC.
I just came from CNMI, and I'm not saying I like it because I don't particularly care for that. We got to look at casino gambling.
Eddie and I didn't inhale. Eddie and I never inhaled. Would you say casinos?
Well, I obviously casino gambling is bringing in a certain type of revenue to the. I talked to Governor Torres. I may not agree with all this stuff, but we're just talking dollars and cents. We got to lay everything on the table, and heck, they're having 2 legislative sessions a year now for supplemental appropriation for cash that's come in as a result of more money than anticipated. So, we got to look at that. Folks.
God, we're going to have to fight the Guam as good people.
Okay, I know some people may not like this, but I think the retailers will like it. Certain states have agreed and have worked relationships out with Amazons and with Walmarts and whoever sends. If we were to pass local legislation, then it would allow our Rev and Tax Department to communicate with Amazon, to communicate with these mass retailers or internet
they'll
retailers.
pay it. I mean, they will collect it for us.
Well, actually, our people have had some discussions initially with Amazon. Obviously, if we had a law in place and make it much simpler. Amazon's issue would be these exemptions, because right now they don't want to keep up with exemptions. And with the use tax exemptions, I think everything up to $1,000. So we would have to clean it up.
It needs to be flat.
And I think it would be good for the retailers of Guam, because if you're going to put a 4% BPT on internet sales, then what it does is it gives us revenue. And a lot of people that order online, they say it's 30% savings or even more. So you're not going to see, even if there's a little bit increase in cost by the tax, it's still pretty good value you can find online. And then our retailers will feel, hey, thank you for
Equalizing.
Equalizing.
The word you're looking for is equalizing.
I'm talking about equalizing. So these are the things we gotta, we have a conversation on.
There's and Les knows more about this probably than anybody else in the room, but I clipped this out because this has always been one of my favorite topics to come out of of Guam Economic Development Authority, and that it's the private PABs, private activity bonds, and there I think are opportunities that we can use there to entice businesses to come out here, build in some of those industrial capabilities, and be able to have GITA not necessarily support it with the borrowing, but there's what's the securitization on that? How does that work? We extend the tax exemption, right?
What is transpiring here is the ability to leverage our tax exempt status for the development of certain improvements, and there's a variety of categories from water treatment facilities, power generation facilities, housing. Yeah. I mean, the list is very, very
solid
long.
Waste disposal facilities. Yes. The cap on this, and they grow. Anything that we don't use the prior year rolls into the next, right? So I remember when this number was fairly small. I remember when Wagner Gurgis didn't he? They actually applied for this, right? Yes. There's $8,486,000 rental project, residential rental projects, electric energy or gas. Qualified enterprise zone facility bonds, mortgage bonds or mortgage credit certificates, et cetera, et cetera. There are these opportunities out there, and as Les says, figure out whether your desire to have access to capital might be something where you can further entice that investment with the tax exemptions.
The good thing about this program, Ray, is that it's so accommodating because if you had a $400 billion residential project and the line item that we had in our allocation was $50 million, right? We could actually take from the different areas and put in a revision to the IRS and utilize more of our volume cap. The volume cap has a bunch of categories, and there's thought that's put into how much into each category and what the carryover is. But it's not inhibiting because you do have the ability to use the entirety of the cap that's available, and it's huge.
Substantial dollars.
It's huge.
Yeah. So find a way to make that attractive. Mike St-Nicholas is talking about the federal repatriation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I usually don't agree with many things, but it's
You like that one?
There's method in that madness. The only thing I'm concerned is the QC has worked for us for years. Let's say the hotel industry. I have a feeling.
But how many? Wait, hold on, because I don't want to. You say QC and hotel industry in the same breath. How many hotels have qualifying certificates of the 20 or so QCs that are out there?
Most of them are hotels.
No, most of them are insurance companies, aren't they?
They have exemptions too.
Well, there's different categories, but of course,
right. But I mean, when we speak of qualifying certificates, there seems to be this global idea that it's all hotels, and it's not all hotels.
No, you're right.
It's a larger number of insurance businesses.
One thing I do see, I think, the senator has we found a loophole here with how they created Guam and what we have in our power. And then now with what's happening with the federal government.
America and Asia, buddy.
Now, I say potentially, if that passes, we take one. You never know. We could take that one big shot. The only thing is I go back, and you missed my State of the Island speech. There was a time in the 70s when Guam had dozens of garment manufacturers and dozens of
Russian watch shop.
of watches made in the parts were made in Russia, but they were assembled in Guam, and we employed hundreds of people, and those folks in New York said, wait a minute. So what I see here potentially, I think it's a great idea, and but there's a risk. We take it, and you never know, there might be takers, and we're going to get this tremendous we're going to take some good income, but it'll be. I just wonder how fast the federal government will work in changing the laws, changing the rules
to protect Wall Street.
And there's a consequence to us on a tool that we have now. But We're a colony. We might as well give it a try. They're going to change the rules on us anyway.
But I keep going back.
I'm like, okay, what the heck?
You made an interesting point there, and I think one with the medicinal the recreational marijuana.
Oh man!
And I think it's an interesting point. They're going to come to you and they say, "Why did you do this? You know, it's a Schedule I substance. You know, at some point the DOJ was going to raise its head, and so your answer is very good. Well, you didn't. You painted us into a corner. We felt this was the only way out. So I'm with the ITC. Stop paying it.
There's some big American multinational that's going to give a double bonus to their employees.
Yeah. Hold on a second. Let me make sure I can get your mic on. While I get Mike's attention on you, let me do this read from Facebook here. Yeah. Buddy writes in, the casino in Saipan is a monster cash cow. Tourists only inside with excellent security. The concept about locals spending money in a Guam casino and breaking up families is nonsense. The local game rooms and cockfighting does plenty of that on its own, right? But just don't do. What's the word? Can I use that word? No, I don't want to use that. He's just saying go in all the way if you're going to do it. If you're going to do it, make it top notch, privately operated with solid regulation. Where's the guy that was doing Grand Bridge?
Baldwin?
Yeah, Bridge Capital. You remember? Where's that guy?
He's still in Saipan.
He's still in Saipan. Hey, you know what? I went to the.
He still has millions.
But guess what?
Still got that container.
Ray,
remember the container of millions?
When you go to the casino, you see this big room, and it was filled with Chinese, and they're all in this big grand hall gambling. But that's not where the money is. So they took me on a tour. There are these back room areas, and it's something called baccarat. I don't know enough about gambling. And as the manager was looking, there's only maybe 8 to 10 people in these rooms, and they're just unassuming. You know, they're wearing polo shirts and jeans, and then I'm looking at. They show me the currency, these chips. They're not chips, they're bars, and I think the smallest one was 50,000. Then 100,000.
High stakes.
And I think it was, I don't know, it was 300,000. Anyway, I'm looking at that and saying, what? So there are billionaires in China that want to get away from the technicals of the Chinese government, that they're trying to stop corruption. They're coming over here. And obviously a lot of these guys, it's not just gambling. I think they want to transfer money that it was originally the Chinese currency, renminbi.
Yeah.
And they want good old USFA dollars. So I don't know enough about how things work, but it sure seems to be working for Saipan.
Would you say that
and I don't see any Saipanese or people from Tinian going broke.
What are you saying?
Using the
money is
machine?
Cleaner when it comes out? Is it cleaner when it leaves? As though it had gone through some kind of laundry?
We don't know. Speaking of clean, the one thing I wanted to point out going on Governor Calvo's, let's bring everything to the table.
This is Les Carlson, for those of you who don't recognize the voice.
Is the recreational marijuana. So there's a PSA going on from the Attorney General's office. If you have a prior misdemeanor drug offense and it's inhibiting your employment, you come see us, and as long as you haven't done anything bad since, your record can get expunged. I think San Francisco is also doing something like that similarly, where they're wiping out all these misdemeanor drug convictions because it's an inhibiting factor to employment.
Yeah.
So, there are already things that we're doing here on Guam, the states are doing, to decriminalize marijuana. The federal government hasn't caught up to that yet, but I in the big scheme of things, I mean, yes, I inhaled, but that was a long time ago. But, we got to think.
I'm just looking at you.
It's a headline. As long as you didn't drive a car afterwards, a bus with children. I think with the recreational marijuana, let me just dive into this for a second. How do we tax that?
Heavily.
No, but I mean, what's the mechanism?
I don't know enough about it.
Because, if I'm just growing a couple plants in the backyard for my recreational weekend use, and without any intent to sell or distribute it, at which point can the government
Well, that's an
lean in
interesting thing, because I had at a conference.
Otherwise it's just an attraction for tourists.
Well,
so that's how we sell it. Is say, come, get eye on Guam.
It's so the thing is too. It's cash because of the that's the complication. Banks can't handle it. I had lunch
cyber currency
with the controller of Colorado. He's a Republican.
Yeah.
And this guy's the most straight-laced, conservative-looking guy you would ever see. He's like the guys you see in Fox commentators, huh? But here's a guy that obviously he's a controller, and he's like, oh man, obviously he's enjoying the Lagresse.
This is
as
the
a
state,
result.
the state of Colorado. Reminder.
It's complicated because of the federal treatment. So it's a lot of cash and how to deal with the cash.
Like I said, you put it into cybercurrency.
But they sure are. Well, you know what's happening now?
There's no reason why we could not create the Guam coin. Like Bitcoin.
Well, you know they're having
like with Dennis Rodman came out here a couple of months ago and had that what was it Potcoin?
Yeah.
Was I exactly what I think it was called? Bob has been waiting on the line. Bob Kelly's on and wanted to bring up a comment or two about internet sales. Good morning, Bob.
Yeah. Good morning, Governor. I wanted to point out that Guam is not on an equal footing on internet sales with the rest of the United States because, number one, lack of knowledge. And number two, because we have right now the requirement for additional customs forms and work for retailers, making over half the retailers refuse to do business with Guam. If we start throwing in the tax while it's only a small amount of money, that additional work may be enough to take the few people that we're still trying to work with to send things out to Guam and start having them shy away. So unless we can get rid of the additional paperwork requirements by the federal government, I don't think we should add the sales tax because that's going to be a disincentive for the few people willing to do the extra work today.
Yeah. Hey, Bob, I'm sorry, I got the mic. I put this thing in a little bit, so I missed the first half of without the headphone.
We're not on an equal footing with the rest of the states because of federal requirements treating us as an international point for internet sales and shipping. And if you put in an additional tax, that's going to make it even more burdensome for the retailers since we're not treated as part of the United States for their shipping. And over half the retailers today refuse to ship to Guam. And the ones that do usually end up charging extra because of their extra work. So unless we can be treated as the rest of the United States for shipping, I don't think you should put the tax in place because it's already much higher to buy things and ship to Guam than if I were in California or Hawaii.
I'll have our people looking at it. Thanks for the good comments. You know what? I'll have Revenue Tax and Customs. We know we are our own customs zone, so I can see why they treat us separately. And there's advantages and disadvantages. So we need to look into that.
The disadvantage is they have to fill out an entirely separate form.
Yeah.
A $3 item, and nobody wants to take 5 to 10 minutes extra time to fill out forms to ship a $3 item.
I think that's something we need to look at.
Right, but if we just went to one guy, the major guy, just went to the major player, Amazon, and for them, I think it would probably be just a couple of keystrokes.
It would be like an export
anything
sales.
going to 96913, they'd say, all right, well, your tax on Guam is 6%, and so that's what we're going to apply here. We will collect it and then remit it to the government of Guam.
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't have to be everybody on eBay. We're just talking about Amazon, right?
Okay, but just a second. Typically, if you go to places like that I deal with, B&H, Marquette, and so on, if they're shipping internationally, the recipient is responsible for the duties upon receipt. Now, is this a duty or is this a tax? If it's a tax and it's U.S., then we need to be treated as U.S. If it's duty, we need to be looked at totally as international. But it's very difficult to be, well, we're going to collect taxes the way we do in the States, but we're going to ship it internationally. That just throws in another speed bump in the road. So we either have to be all U.S., in other words, shipping to Guam from the U.S. is no different than shipping to California, Hawaii, or Kansas, or we should not try to be part of the states for taxes and national for shipping. Can't be both ways, or that's going to make it even more complicated, Ray.
You know, but while you're on the line, Bob, and Gov's taking notes, and Les is taking notes, and Oil is taking notes. So I'm sure that this is a conversation they'll have with a couple of folks. And I do see the federal side on the shipping because you and I talk to the same people, and we have to have them fill out those same forms. But I did want to give you an opportunity to talk to the governor about another idea that you had for cost savings, and take us back to 2000. Wow, when did we do that? The early out. You remember when we did the early out?
Yeah.
99.
99. Was it that long ago?
Yes.
Son of a gun. Okay. Anybody interested in having a conversation about doing an early out program? Les is already nodding his head.
Remember,
no.
the problem with the early out too is, that was a time when there were 16,000 workers in GovGuam. We're now at about 11,600, and if you do an early out, you just gotta. I go back to what I thought was a demeaning editorial in the PDN, that comic that had a big fat. It showed me in a doctor's smock. And I'm saying you don't have to lose weight or something.
Eddie, don't take it so personal.
But
God, you're the governor.
I think if we had 16,000 employees like we had then, with a $500 million budget, now we have a $900 million budget, and we've taken out down to 11,600. How many more employees can we streamline out of government of Guam? And by the way, I do, as much as I think it was overemployed back then. You folks, because we didn't have a lot of standard operating procedures in place back then when I came in.
Oh, the brain drain was awesome. It was insane.
And so what happened, all the institutional knowledge that occurred as a result, because there were not set standard operating procedures and rules in different agencies with different services, different responsibilities, it was that drain occurred, and there was a bunch of people that had to do a lot of catch up. There's complications there.
Did we also not run into a situation where a bunch of folks that were able to leave the service of the government early and basically, they cashed it out and then moved to the States and then said, "Now I want to go back to Guam," and were able to come back and after a time return to service in the government?
Yeah, there's a reemployment clause.
Yes.
As long as you leave in good standing, that you can come back within 4 years. So you have a situation where the retirement fund corpus was depleted when people took their cash out. That had a detrimental effect on the viability of the retirement fund. And then when people come back in, we transitioned in more recent times to everybody had to come in a DC plan. So they're older. They're not poised to be having that longevity in service to be able to have a livable retirement annuity because of some of the choices that they made, and a lot of that's born out of necessity. We understand that, but you also have to take a look at the harm to the retirement fund.
No, I recall, and I think it's conversations that still come up.
Yes.
Didn't it come up with Joe T a few years ago when we had to pay things? Bob, I'm going to let you run here because I got another call on the other line. So let me get to that. Uncle Carl, as in former governor, and gubernatorial candidate Carl T.C. Gutierrez is on the line. Good morning, Uncle Carl.
Can I ask the governor a question?
Sure, Governor.
Governor, I was told that you had mentioned about 16,000 employees, I guess, during my time.
Yeah.
And I just finally heard it for myself today.
Sure.
What kind of employees are you counting? Are you counting the DPA employees, the waterworks employees, the Port Authority employees?
Well,
you can play around with these figures to make it look like I bloated the general fund employees.
Well, it was different back then. Before there was no Consolidated Utilities Commission, so the governor did have more control over agencies. And then there was something called LTA. So DPW had about Yes, Gov.
You did not reduce employees. What you did was just not count those other employees. So you got to don't make it look like I bloated the government.
I'm not saying you bloated it. Other than that was how government was. That was.
There was no reduction. If you count all those other employees that you took into account back then you did not reduce the number of employees. And the thing in 1999, I don't know whether you were there as a senator.
I just came in.
You did the early out.
Yeah.
When you did the 1999 December and early out, the reason for that was that all of these highly paid people are taking the payroll of the government of Guam, and maybe we could reduce it. But what happened was you took away the institutional knowledge.
Yeah.
I mean, they all went out one fell swoop, and it hurt the government of Guam.
Yeah.
And it may have saved initially, but it cost us a lot of money later.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to let the people know that I did not have 16,000 employees as equated by the way you're saying it.
I don't know. When you look at DPW, it has 300 now, and it had 600 back then. Parks and Rec, we're about half the size in Parks and Rec than we were back then. Gov, I can pull out the personnel sheet, and I can show you. And obviously, we've tightened up on classified positions because I would say there was about 600 or 700 unclassified positions in government of Guam back in the early 20th century. Now, by law, we can't do it. I think nowadays only types of LTAs are very specific in number, but you had LTAs. I remember a great number at DPW. You had a great number of LTAs at Parks and Rec. We had a great number of at agriculture. I could go. I'll pull out the numbers, and I'm not trying to indict you or accuse you. I'm just saying a fact.
I'm not going to argue with the LTAs with you because they did a wonderful job in getting the core responsibilities of the government out there, like public works. We were out there working and did a construction battalions with the LTAs, and we employed them, and they didn't have to be on the rolls.
Yeah.
Welfare.
Governor?
We did the construction battalion stuff. But I mean, just compare everything. Did you remember what I received when I got in after Joe Ada left? You're not taking that into consideration. Yeah. Most of those people were there. Most of those people were there, and I cannot just throw them out in one fell swoop.
Yeah. I'm not saying how it was before you. I'm just saying the numbers then and now.
Yeah, but you did not count the autonomous agencies and GTA, which we privatized, and the CCU. Those employees raised it up to probably what you're saying, 16,000.
Yeah, I'm counting all GovGuam employees because if you had PUAG back then, it was about double the size it is now. GPA, double the size. So those autonomous agencies have evolved. What's happened is over the years now, and I'm saying we talk about even partial privatization or autonomy in agencies. Back then, there was much more control by the executive authority on many agencies. Now, we've got Consolidated Utilities Commission. We got this, that. We got these agencies that are under the purview of the governor. Like I say, for me, my agencies have shrunk, and the general line agencies, many of them by half. In GPA and GWA, which are separate autonomous agencies, not controlled by me, but controlled by Consolidated Utilities Commission, by separate boards, they've been halved as well. So I'm not trying to point the fingers at anybody. I'm just saying, hey, these are the numbers I have right now.
Governor, that's not the argument I'm having. I'm having the argument with you that you're making it sound that you reduced from 16,000 employees down to 11,000.
That's true.
And that's not true.
Not me. I'm just saying it's the fact.
They're still working at GTA. They're still working at DPW. I mean, Waterworks. They're still at the port.
No, I'm talking about 11,600 workers that work for GovGuam. I only have oversight over 3,040 workers under my general line agencies. And then you got then you got DOE. So DOE, I oversee as much government workers as DOE. And then you have other autonomous agencies.
No, and I think that's the point that the governor is making is they're the same, but you didn't say that. So you were just talking about 11,000 employees. What the governor is saying, there's still a lot of employees, but they're just not in your purview.
That's everything.
I'm hearing it wrong?
No.
11,000 government.
I'm talking
GovGuam
GovGuam workers.
Includes,
I'm saying it before, if you count, there were even the autonomous agencies, the line agencies. There was a number back. Hey, POE, the autonomous agencies back then, everything is pretty much cut in half. So whether you're talking about the governor's line agencies, such as I oversee, over 3,000.
The number in mine has always been about 13,000.
There was 3,600 workers when I came in my general line agencies. Now there's about 3,040. If you talk about GPA. GPA was about 500 or 600. Now I think it's about 300. If you talk about GWA, it was about 600. Now it's 245, 300. So there's been a general shrinking of government between the early 20th century and now. That's all I'm saying. And you could. It's kind of like you said about equalization on taxes. You can, I don't care whether it's autonomous or not autonomous. There's a reduction in government of Guam workers.
Says it come from the government of Guam. All right, hey Gov.
Thank you, Gov.
I'm sorry. I have two Govs in my proximity. Governor Gutierrez, when would you like to get on the radio?
Tomorrow.
Okay, I'll give you a ring.
All right.
I'll call you.
Take care.
Because everybody is going to have some kind of vested conversation here. You as the outgoing governor, and I think the word that I heard was swan song. This was supposed to be it, right off into the sunset. 8 years of my life, and now I can go back to doing whatever it is that I was going to do. But you've still got what looks like this last big fight between you and the other body at this point. So as we wrap up, Les wanted to make a point. I got like a minute and a half. So
real quick, it's not a fight.
not trying to fight anybody.
The speaker, when we had the SES meeting, Special Economic Service meeting on January 31st, we had a very healthy discussion. You would be very surprised at the tenor of the conversation. It was a very give and take. We walked away.
The breakfast was a little bit heated, but go on.
We walked away with an agreement that we needed to raise the BPT to 2% by 2% to fund the governmental shortfall with 1%, 0.75 to take care of the hospital. The speaker has been adamant about his continual support for the hospital and its funding, and he threw in 0.25, which equates to $15 million, to take care of the deferred maintenance and the capital needs of DOE.
Well, remind me to ask him how come he didn't put it in 244.
That's a good question.
I will see if I can get that ponderable. Guys, thanks very much for coming in. And Doyle, prayers for your mom. Continue. Salam.
Yes.
Okay. I'll see you pretty soon, Les. Always great seeing you. Go. All right.
Nice to see you, my friend.
You can call it a fight if you want. I'm going to call it a fight. I think it's going to be fun to watch, personally. And the fun starts at 9:30 tomorrow over at the legislature. Hey, look at the time, would you? It's 9 a.m. on KUSG. We got a bunch of commercials that we got playing the next hour because we just let it roll, didn't we? All right, stand by for Fox News Live.
Possible changes in gun laws. I'm Rich Dennison, Fox News. The White House says President Trump is open to talks about improving the federal gun purchase background check system, but White House Deputy Press Secretary Raj Shah says other factors need to be considered.
When you're looking at ways to fix this system, you want to look at measures like fixing the background check system. You also want to understand what broke down.
The FBI admitting that a credible tip about confessed Florida school shooter Nicholas Cruz was not properly handled by the agency. Several rallies held outside the White House today as demonstrators urged passage of gun reforms. One demonstrator saying baby boomers held nuclear drills during the Cold War, but students today have to worry about gun violence.
Sometimes we had to hide under our desks in case there was a nuclear attack, but these guys have to hide under their desks all the time. The school shooting after school shooting.
Many students from the Florida school where the shooting occurred plan a rally on gun law reforms next month in the nation's capital. A Dallas official calling on the NRA to move its 2018 convention to another city.
Dallas's Democratic Mayor Pro Tem Dwayne Caraway is speaking out against guns and for gun control, now urging the NRA to find a new home for its annual convention in Dallas in May, saying it's not appropriate in light of the recent deadly school shooting in Florida.
There will be demonstrations should they come to Dallas, and we, Dallas, will be the ones that have to bear the cost.
This amid calls for Caraway to resign over a federal corruption scandal in which he denies that he sold votes for tens of thousands of dollars in payments, including an unpaid loan for a family member. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
A court appearance earlier today for confessed Florida school shooter Nicholas Cruz. The procedural hearing concerned rules of how documents would be sealed in the 19-year-old's trial. The judge saying she favored keeping documents public whenever it can be possible. Fox News. Fair and balanced.
Let's go inside the mind of a 10-year-old.
I should have worn those earrings today. I like those earrings. Gabby has those awesome earrings. I need to ask her where she got those, but that's just what she would want me to do. I'll have Michaela ask her for me.
Buckle up, Sarah.
Yeah, but then Michaela will be like, why don't you just ask her yourself? That's just like Michaela.
Sarah, buckle up.
Michaela's such a great name. I wish I was called Michaela. There's like a dozen Sarahs in my class.
Hey, we're not hitting the road until you buckle up, honey.
Oh yeah, seatbelt. I forget sometimes because my brain is like busy, you know? I wonder if there's pizza at school today.
Sometimes it can be tough to get through to your kids, but it's not impossible. Always make sure they're wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Remember, you have the keys, you have the power. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
A man contracted to drive a press van in President Trump's Florida motorcade was briefly detained today after bringing a gun to the job. That gun was found during a security screening outside Mar-a-Lago. The president was not nearby. Dallas police investigating the death of a U.S. postal worker this morning.
The postal worker was found shot dead in a mail truck along a busy highway, Interstate 30, near downtown Dallas, just before 2:30 a.m. There are two large postal service complexes nearby. Police say the cab of that truck was riddled with bullets. They shut down part of the highway for several hours to investigate the shooting and get the truck unloaded and towed away. A week and a half ago, about a mile away, a Dallas police squad car was shot at around 2:10 a.m. At this point, we're told there's no evidence linking the two crimes. Chris Foster, Fox News.
At least 17 people have been killed in Mozambique's capital after heavy rains triggered the partial collapse of a 3-story tall mound of garbage. Several homes also destroyed in the collapse. Rescue crews believe more bodies could be buried, and a search for the victims continues. Actor Jeffrey Rush is accused of sexual misconduct.
Oscar winner Jeffrey Rush is being accused of touching an actress inappropriately during an Australian production of King Lear 3 years ago. The actor is in court suing Sydney's The Daily Telegraph for defamation over articles last year which alleged inappropriate behavior. Tom Blackburn, the paper's attorney, told the court the 66-year-old touched an actress who has not been identified on 5 consecutive nights in the last week of production in a way that had not been done before and made her uncomfortable. But Rush's lawyer told the court the accusations were vague. Blackburn is fighting Rush's request to have the newspaper's truth defense struck out. The judge delayed a decision. Michelle Polino, Fox News.
Up to 1.5 feet of snow is possible in the central Rockies as a severe winter storm hits the high plains and western mountain states. Several hundred flights have been canceled throughout the region. I'm Rich Dennison, Fox News Radio.
Family Finance has been serving the people of Guam since 1959, and they'll continue to be there for you in the years to come. Whether you're looking to get a personal loan for that summer vacation or paying off those long overdue bills, Family Finance has got you covered. Apply for a personal loan from $1,000 up to $3,500 by calling Family Finance in Hagåtña at 475-4545, Upper Tuon 647-5626, or in Dededo 633-4473. Family Finance has been serving the people of Guam since 1959.
For more than 40 years, we've managed our island's most precious resource, your health. Take Care's benefit plans allow members access to more than 120 medical providers, 40 dental providers, and 18 pharmacies in the region. Take Care's health plans ensure members in Palau, Saipan, and Guam receive the care they deserve. Our programs and wellness classes have proven results for our valued members, and our commitment to your health never been stronger. Take Care. Our island, your health plan.
Water. It covers nearly 3/4 of our Earth, from vast oceans to millions of rivers and streams. We're all concerned with protecting our world's water, but none is more important than the water you and your family drink and use throughout your home. A Connecticut water treatment system can improve your water so that your family is using the best water in the world. Connecticut, for refreshing ideas on water.
American Water Tech. Smarter water. Better water. Call American Water Tech at 649-2301 or email info@americanwatertech.com.
Ray Gibson brings you closer to the action. Any speaker, anytime. Morning talk that matters.
Wait, the thing still says Eddie Pepsi. Yeah, they wanted to change that. Like I said, Oil was looking at the video screen and says Eddie Pepsi Calvo, because that's what I call him. Or Eddie Jerome Baza Calvo, or any other number of names that, they're all good names. They're boys together.
Yeah, well, they WhatsApped me, and I was like, Ray controls that. Sorry, I can't change
Oh, they did?
that. Yeah, they did.
Anything that you see on the video screen, that's me, and so I'll apologize right now, because I'm almost positive when it said when it said who was on the phone, I'm almost positive I misspelled Uncle Carl's last name.
Uh-oh.
That's what I was going to. I shouldn't even try. It goes all the way through the 2 T's, 1 R. I'm pretty sure that's wrong. Sorry, Uncle Carl. I'll get it correct when you come in tomorrow. Wonder what he wants to talk about. I hate it when this happens. So the number that I keep in my head when we start talking about just round numbers of government of Guam employees is about 13,000. And, if you talk to Governor Calvo, that number is low based on, what he's seeing in front of him now when he signs the checks. And you talk to Governor Gutierrez, and back in the day, he had lots of employees in the government of Guam. I don't remember it was up that high, though. So I was looking to see what the current numbers were based on Gary Hiles's recent report. They just uploaded one to the Department of Labor, and I was scrambling looking for that. Oyal sent me a link to the the yearbook, the Government of Guam playbook or something like that, Guam Statistical Yearbook. For 2006, which I've kind of thumbed through, but I haven't gone in there to dig into some of the details. Primarily because there's just enough detail work on the big stories that we're talking about. 244, 245, dual public hearings tomorrow at the legislature. And the question that I got from somebody who's smarter than me was. Poker machines are illegal on Guam. So why is it, Raymond, that the governor's bill supports a tax equivalent to 8% on the gross proceeds of each machine as determined by subtracting the winnings, payouts, and malfunction rewards from total receipts of each machine? I've read this before. I've read this to you on the radio, on this radio station before. And the answer at the time was it doesn't look like, based on this, that they are going to be making any changes to the law that made it so that these old grandfathered machines could be used again, thereby making way for game rooms all over the island. And in some cases, I think a little bit too close to each other. That's just me. I don't see the overwhelming cash influx to the hospital. This was these machines. The whole conversation came about because the Guam Memorial Hospital needed a dedicated funding source. And as much as people said and held their nose when they voted, they literally were holding their nose and saying, but the people of Guam, basta casino, no to the casino. It's the devil's casino. As many people have said that, they held their nose and they voted for it because it's for GMH. And because of the flawed presentation, it was an Exhibit A that showed all the debts of Guam Memorial Hospital. And that measure was supposed to pay off all of the debts. And the idea was when the debts were paid off, the licenses would go away. But because of a procedural incident, Exhibit A never made it. So as long as Guam Memorial Hospital is in debt, these machines are grandfathered, the licenses are good. Which means, for all intents and purposes, we're always going to have these game rooms.
Yeah, the hospital is not going to recover anytime soon.
Not going to be without debt.
That's right.
And so somebody said, Ray, that's in the governor's measure. Is the governor continuing to support these machines in Bill 245? And I pointed out, well, it's in BJ's too. 26202 under rates. Except that on the gross proceeds of the operation of poker machines, there shall be a tax equivalent of 8% on the gross proceeds of each machine as determined by subtracting the winnings, payouts, and malfunction refunds from total receipts of each machine. Apparently, they agree on this. Mm-hmm. So this is what I'm hoping for. This is what I hate to see any business fold up, but I just don't see the upside. And certainly not the purported upside for Guam Memorial Hospital with these systems. And I imagine that might make me, in my opinion, unpopular with some people. I don't care. I don't know that it is worth what I think are some of the downsides with these gaming devices. So I would like to see this brought up on the floor of the legislature. Maybe somebody can make a mention of it. The Guam is good people are still out and they're still around. Where's Jackie Marati? Where's Jackie? Make Jackie go after this. Hey, why did you leave these in there? Why'd you leave all of this in the paperworks? Anyway, I got to tell you about this because it's Lent. And one of my favorite Lent sandwiches. It's time for fish fans to celebrate the return of Wendy's Cod Filet Sandwich. Wendy's uses wild-caught North Pacific cod breaded with panko breadcrumbs to a light crisp, drizzled in a new creamy dill tartar sauce and crispy pickles. This is a killer sandwich. You got to get your hands around this. Wendy's Cod Filet. Now that's better. I'll tell you about some other places before long, but it is Lent, so go for it. Where did we need to leave off? I guess enough of the conversation with the governor. You want good news? You want some good news? H-2B, guys. H-2B. Oh, I like to say, well, I guess it depends. If somebody says, man, the 60s were awesome, I'll go, I was born in the 60s. I came up in the 60s. Isn't that great? And if they say, man, the 70s were groovy, I'll go, oh, you know what? I was raised in the 70s. I'm from there. And when they start talking about how cool 80s music was and 80s music and 80s fashion, I go, hey, you know what? I was from the 80s. I did all of the 80s and really enjoyed. You know what my favorite thing about the 80s were? And maybe it was just me and the crew I hung out with. We always had money. The tourism business was going gangbusters. I mean, it was gangbusters. You know how there was so much money floating around? Joe Atta gave me a tax refund. And where did all that come from? Well, a lot of it, it got the hospitality industry that was a big deal. And the construction industry that was following the hospitality industry. Senator Uggan will remember when there was one day we had so many arrivals. You remember this, Senator? We had so many arrivals, we actually had to send people to Saipan. Do you remember that?
Hello?
Senator Frank Uggan Jr.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ramon. I thought you had someone else on the other line.
No, I'm talking to you because I bet you remember. You remember that day in the 80s. We were all flummoxed. We were all, oh, my God, you're kidding. There were so many people flying into Guam, we actually put them on another airplane to Saipan because we didn't have the hotel rooms for them.
And I was still a youngin' at that time, Ray.
Whatever. Whatever. Man, that was incredible. We used, and they were even sending people down to Cocos Island. You remember the hotel down there?
Yeah, they were using that as an outlier.
Good times. Good times. So in my mind, there was a lot of money floating around because of the hospitality industry, but there was great big money that was coming in here on the construction side. So I'm delighted to hear that there's a bunch of people that will be taking John Robertson's advice today and starting to make their applications for the H-2Bs because once that money comes in, that's good spend.
Yes, and that's excellent news, especially with the USCIS representative saying that they will not or they don't anticipate filing an appeal. So that's excellent news for the community of Guam.
Fingers crossed, right, Miguel?
Yes.
Gotcha. Well, because I guess they're going to wait until the end of the month, but start applying now. Because you know why? Because I'll bet these guys are afraid of Frances Tarinko Gatewood. Judge Gatewood. That woman
Why
is.
would anyone be afraid of
she is because she is bomb, dude, and I can just see it in my head. These guys are going, we'll appeal, and then somebody says, yeah, but that means we got to go appeal with her. I don't want to.
Well, let's certainly hope. Let's certainly hope that this concludes that particular part of the process, and our businesses can go out and.
No way. Let's sue for damages. Let's sue for all the money that we didn't get because we didn't have the construction. That's, when I win, I learned this. You know who I learned this from? Former Speaker Juan Pat. Once you win, keep going. Once you win. What? There's no more smoking at your desk. Okay, I'll go outside. No more smoking outside by the door. Okay, I'll go down the street.
That is Ramon. You certainly have a lot of history.
Yeah, I guess remember. I try to remember as much as I possibly can. But I wanted to, because there's.
Well, let me first of all congratulate you again on getting back on the air.
It's good to be back on the air. I picked a good time for it, right? This is a good time to go back on the air?
Yes, it's an absolutely good time, and talk about timing. I mean, now the next several months is going to be a lot of conversation taking place.
Well, I would hope so. I hope that you will assist me as best as you can, given the hard work that you've got to do trying to get yourself elected to another office.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Well, I'm going to do my part. I mean, I still have a responsibility for the balance of this year as a member of the legislature, so certainly that is at the forefront. I still have my campaign and with Alicia Limtiaco, and certainly we're going to do the best job we possibly can to get our message out there and to reach out to our people. And then at the end of the day, we got to leave it up to the good Lord and to our people.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. It's a busy time that among the Democrats, certainly this time around. And it's good that you got Alicia before Dennis did.
I'm just very fortunate that Alicia was open-minded, kept an open mind during the course of our conversation, and that she ultimately decided to join me in our quest to be able to serve our people over the next 4 years.
You know, I knew you'd turn that into a speech, but I just had to toss that in.
Oh, Ramon.
What can I say? So let me.
Well, first of all, secondly, Ramon, yes. I know you tried to contact me a little earlier, and you're very familiar with my morning routine.
Yeah.
My wife and I have a commitment early in the morning, so I wasn't able to call in at that time. So I just want to apologize.
No, you never have to apologize. I will get you, and it'll be fun when I do. For me, there's something that. I mean, everybody is looking at trying to save some money in the government of Guam, and I will admit that every once in a while I'll look at something and go, I have no idea what he's talking about here. It looks, Frank, like reorganization, which is a conversation that you and I have had, unfortunately, over many of these hard times that the government of Guam has seen. But it explained to me a little bit of what I read in the weekend's newspapers and the Daily Post. What are all those numbers and positions?
Let me first of all just preface my initial statement. I did introduce Bill number 247-34, which identifies certain priorities. It reprioritizes education, public safety, and healthcare as the fundamental responsibilities of the government of Guam.
Bob Klitsky gives very good advice.
Yes, and then secondly, it also recognizes the governor of Guam's organic tax authority to be able to reorganize. But be mindful, Ray, that over the last 20, 30 plus years, that there have been legislation and laws enacted that really has made it very difficult for the chief executive to be able to reorganize his government.
Therefore,
what this bill does now is it provides a guide to the governor of Guam to streamline our government and take away these impediments and allow the governor, through an executive order, to be able to reorganize and restructure the government of Guam how he sees fit. And in this particular case, this is an option. You know, it's really come down to this point. You have been discussing the financial state of our government, whether it's $40 million to $70 million for the balance of this fiscal year. It's a cash issue. What this provides is certainly the governor of Guam a guideline to be able to look at reprioritizing these agencies under education, public safety, and healthcare, looking at some of these other agencies and seeing if, in fact, they have duplicated functions or duplicated services, and perhaps it will be more complementary if, in fact, they take those functions or services that are still critical to the government of Guam and to the community and consolidate them with other existing agencies. You know, and I was looking at this, and just to put it into real life, everyday context, yesterday I spoke to a small business owner, and this individual pleaded with me with regards to any increase in taxes. She mentioned to me that she and her husband have been running their business for the last 43 plus years, and it's going to be extremely difficult. And one of the words that she used, let me just use the comment she used verbatim. Yesterday morning, it's going to kill us. Literally, from a small business owner, this individual made that particular statement. So that's why, in this case, it's time for the government of Guam and for all of our leaders to put our minds together and let's consolidate, let's restructure, and let's provide the resources in the priority areas.
Okay, so can I just let me okay, so the point that I've always tried to make here is, and I recognize the gravity of the situation as well as anybody else does, as well as anybody else that has been down this road. I don't know that we've ever been down it quite as bad as we are now, but it is a tough time. But we do have some opportunities in front of us as the house is burning down. We've got a solid foundation in our people, right? So we let the house burn down to the foundation and then rebuild it with economies and of scale in mind, efficiencies in mind.
Well, I don't.
And to try to meet the real needs of the people.
Right, and in this particular case, I don't know if I want to let the house burn down, so to speak. I want to make sure that we jump into the entire arena right now.
Well, you might not have any choice, but as I say, you take a look at some of the secondary, tertiary services that are being provided for in the government of Guam, and you say, look, we can't continue to do that. As an example, I'll give you one right now. Should the government of Guam be in the bus business?
Yep. That's an excellent example. That's a very good question. Whether, in fact, the government of Guam should continue to be in that business, or is it a service that could otherwise be provided by the private sector or outsourcing it,
or by outsourcing it, and then Glenn will not have to worry about whether he's got the right number of buses, and the parents will say, hey, well, what about my kids? How are they going to get to school? And we'll say, they're your kids, they're your responsibility. You take them to school.
Well, that plus the services. I mean, we can still provide the services, albeit we need to conduct a financial analysis, but we need to provide that service. And if it's more economical and less costly for the people of Guam to outsource it, then by all means, let's do it. Let's continue to provide that service, because there are some families out there that certainly continue to need that particular transportation to get their schools to and from school, or their children to and from school. But, there are also other agencies. What I did was I provided the governor of Guam in this legislation really a guide, prioritizing education, public safety, and healthcare. And then I grouped another set of agencies under Group 2, which is composed of entities that provide services which are involved in support, enforcement, regulation, adjudication, and administration. Now, there's a third tier. If, in fact, the governor sees that if there are duplicative or complementary services or functions, by all means, consolidate them. Because where's the recognizable savings? First and foremost, you can cross-train personnel. You may not need to hire any additional personnel for the foreseeable next year and a half, because you're able to cross-train and consolidate agencies. You no longer would have the cost of a director, a deputy director, and some of the unclassified limited-term employees.
Okay.
So you look at this entire equation. This is one option that I would like to present with the support of my colleagues to the governor of Guam, because we really need to reorganize this government. And it's really high time that we do this, so that, in fact, we create efficiencies and we allow for a retooling of our government and public employees so that we can get them the resources that they need.
How much money do you think we might be able to save here?
That information is going to have to be generated by the executive branch. And I say that literally. It's
got to be done after we change the services too, right?
Yeah, because, the one thing about this, Ray, is that it, like I said, it removes the laws that exist today that have served as really impediments to reorganization. And it allows the governor to take full ownership and say, okay, these are the things we're going to do. We are going to consolidate. We are going to restructure this government so that, in fact, we can realize some cost reductions and apply them to the areas of priority. So in this case, it's a piece of legislation that I certainly hope I can convince my colleagues to support, and give the governor that tool so that we can start this process immediately and make sure that we realize some cost reductions and reprioritize.
This is going to tip over some rice bowls in this town, and so I can already see people start to get agitated just at the conversation and start poring over what their civil service protections are going to be, what kind of rights they may have or may be expecting as members of the GFT.
Well, this does recognize, Ray, it certainly does recognize the merit system. It does recognize the Public Employees Management Relations Act and those particular provisions, but it provides that added flexibility to the governor of Guam to be able to reorganize. And we need to come to the realization that, especially in light of the financial situation of the government of Guam, that really, in some situations, we need to dig deep and find areas where we can restructure and reorganize and realize some cost reductions. Because, looking at the people of Guam, the everyday people, and asking them to pay a little bit more is just not an option that should be considered at this point in time.
No, I don't think it should be an option, period. And I've gotten into some degree of conversations with people that think that maybe we'll do that before we start messing around with payroll and start messing around with employee numbers. And I'm sorry, I that can't be the layout of the priorities. The last thing that we should do is put any more burden on the taxpayers. As I mentioned to the governor just a few minutes ago, the current governor of Guam, because it seems like everybody is everybody around here is either running for governor or is past governor. But as I mentioned to him, is all of that money that 3% that Trump and Congress gave us has been eliminated by the cost of power going up. It has been eliminated by the cost of gasoline going up. And you throw a BPT increase or equalization on it, whatever you want to call it, and then I will agree. For some people, we'll file Chapter 737 and call United and say, take me to the States. I'll go live with my cousins out in Vallejo.
With all due respect, Ray, I mean, we may have differences between the governor and I, but to even consider the first option is tax increases, no. That should be the final option or one of the last options, even considered on the table. We should go into this government, and because he is obviously the executive, look at ways in which we can restructure and consolidate.
Yeah.
That's the reality, because if we can realize some cost saving there, I don't know what the amount is, Ray, and that's an excellent question. But if we can realize and chip away at savings or cost of this government, not cost containment, because cost containment is if you're spending $100 million, we're not going to hire any additional personnel, so we're still going to spend $100 million.
Right. Yeah, that doesn't help a lot. Well, we won't go traveling as much. Well, that's good.
Cost reduction, yes.
Yeah. Well, I think we've got to do a better job of tax collection and fee collection in the government of Guam, as well as much as I recognize that the government just can't send you a bill that says, hurry up and pay because you're a deadbeat. There are people out there that aren't paying what they owe the government of Guam that don't require any new laws, new legislation, new taxes, new loans, or anything. You just got to get out there and get the money. So, if only it were that easy, I suppose, and maybe one of these days we'll get a hold of the guys over at the Department of Revenue and Taxation and find out, what it needs to be. What is the impediment to getting out there and getting the cash? You know what I think? Some of it might be. I think some of it might be that government of Guam works 8 to 5, and some of the businesses that are skating on taxes work late at night, and so nobody's looking at their taxes anymore because the boss said go home at 5.
Yeah, one of the conversations at the recent SES Special Economic Service discussion was that keep in mind that if the government were to cut down or reduce cost of operation by $15 or $60 million, that is going to impact the ability to hire tax collectors or revenue tax. And my response was no. If you look at consolidating and you look at restructuring, take some of our other public employees who are working in different areas, reassign them, cross-train them, and guess what? You're going to have additional personnel to support revenue tax, additional personnel that could possibly support DOA that I know for a fact is in need of addition.
Oh, my God. Yeah, but you remember the last time we did, I'm sorry, this is another one of those moments where, I'm burdened with institutional knowledge, right? As I remember once upon a time we had this conversation and there were people, stenographers at the port that said, oh, but I'm a stenographer at the port and I had special training to become a stenographer at the port and I'm different than the stenographer at the Department of Education or the Department of Administration. They didn't have to go through special training. They did not have to get a security there.
But, Ray, we have to ask a real hard question. Is this a service or a function that we can continue, Or can we reassign? And
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying get ready for it because everybody's going to say, oh, yeah, well, you know, the difference between a policeman and the park ranger and the airport police, et cetera. And we're going to say, we're going to consolidate you because you are all like entities. And they'll say, oh, no, I'm not. Oh, no, I'm not.
But you know, the thing about it is we need to keep our public employees apprised of every single process so that they know and understand exactly what is going on. If, in fact, it's going to result in their requirement that they cross-train, that particular service or function is no longer necessary, I would think that our public employees would be willing to do that so that, in fact, they can continue their employment in the government of Guam and assist the government of Guam in terms of realizing some actual cost reduction rather than hiring new personnel. So, I mean, there are certain factors. Ray, you mentioned a little earlier. It comes down to whether this government can continue to afford to operate status quo.
No.
And the answer is no. So let's use this opportunity to be able to look at consolidating, restructuring, and reprioritizing this government so that, in fact, education, public safety, and healthcare receive the resources they need.
Well, you better win the governor thing so somebody can do this because it's not just the legislature. At some point, you hand the executive branch the scalpel, and I don't know. I'm like with the thing on the sunset. You know, Eddie says, I'm going to insist on a sunset provision. I'll go, well, you ain't going to be there in 2 years, and the government's going to get used to having that money. Hey, I got to go. My producer with the deep voice says I got to break, so I'll talk to you pretty soon.
Congratulations again on your show.
Well, thanks, Migo. All right, buddy. Currently 9:33 on the point, and I will continue with the conversation in just I need to do one of these, right? I should do one of these. Let me just make sure I'm not going to do a restaurant commercial, and then we're going to go to a restaurant commercial. All right, here it is. Subway. Ooh, eat fresh. They have got your fresh choices for Lent. Sink your teeth into the classic tuna or indulge in the mouthwatering greatness of the seafood sensation they have. Something new, the Tasty Veggie Max, a delicious vegetarian patty. You know, there's words that don't normally go together, delicious and vegetarian. But this Subway we're talking about, if anybody can do it, they can. A delicious vegetarian patty free of artificial colors and artificial flavors. Visit any of the convenient locations today at Subway. Fresh is what they do.
In illness and in wellness, Calvo's Select Care is health care that is there for you. That's why over 80% of the Guam medical community places their trust and insures with us. We offer our members wellness and fitness programs for a healthier lifestyle and provide a comprehensive medical network on and off island to help members from unexpected illnesses. Contact Calvo's Select Care today for more information.
Chili's has the seafood you crave, the flavors you love, at a great price with our 3 for Me Lent menu. For just $15, you can get a beverage, fresh salad, and a Lent-friendly entree. First, choose from a refreshing Coca-Cola, iced tea, or Heineken on draft. Then enjoy a fresh house salad right before you indulge in your choice of a mouth-watering entree, like our spicy shrimp tacos, savory Cajun pasta with shrimp, or our flavorful grilled ancho salmon. Chili's 3 for Me Lent menu for just $15. Available for a limited time. Chili's. More life happens here.
It's Triple J's out with the old and in with the new sales event going on now. Get unbelievable savings on all remaining 2017s, plus many 2018s. Take advantage of our best pricing on all Hondas, Acuras, Fords, Mazdas, Lincolns, Volvos, Kias, and used cars. New cars as low as $137 per paycheck, and used cars as low as $80 per paycheck. Plus no payments for 90 days, 0 down and 1.9% financing on approved credit. Visit us online at triplejguam.com and get pre-approved instantly. Trade-ins welcome. Some conditions apply. See dealer for details. Triple J Auto Group. Customers first.
It's not every day that the governor of the territory just kind of ambles into the studio and says, dude, we got to talk. And unfortunately, it meant that we would not be able to spend any time at all with Blake Watson and get our fix of Tuesday morning sports.
Yeah, he was hurt.
Was he disappointed?
He was crushed.
Make it up to him. He can come in on Saturday.
Oh.
What would we have talked about? We would have talked about Fergie, right?
Maybe, and the fact that full squads report for practice in baseball now.
Who does?
It was just pitchers and catchers. Now the rest of the guys show up.
Okay, this is baseball.
Yeah, so they're going to start playing spring training games.
We had at the hotel that we were at in Okinawa, what's it called? Bayview, Ocean View, Mare Resort. Used to be a Daiichi, I think. And in our hotel, the Hiroshima Carps were staying.
Wow.
And so when the Hiroshima Carps were moving in and out of the hotel, there was a rope down the middle of the hotel with security guards.
Oh.
You could not get on the other side, which was, that was to me a bummer because there was a machine that sold beer on the other side of the rope. And I say, hey, Hafade, what's going on? And they said, well, the very famous Hiroshima Carps are in, I guess they were doing spring training or they had a game or something like that. But that was the big deal at the hotel was the fact that these guys were there. I did not even turn on the television. The only time I saw any Olympics was in the mall. And they got a big mall there, the Aeon. And there's an electronics store on the 3rd floor that sells every kind of electronic device in the world. 5 volts, 6 volts, 12 volts, 24 volts. If it plugs in and a light goes on, they sold it, right? And they had, as many of these stores do, a couple of their awesome flat-screen, state-of-the-art televisions out in the front. And there was a big crowd assembled in front of the store because there were some Japanese figure skaters that were on. And I couldn't tell you whether they were winning or losing or whether they were knifing each other with the blades on their shoes. But there was some kind of activity going on. And all of the Japanese that were surrounding those television screens seemed to be very happy. So in that case, I knew it wasn't the Vaughn chick.
Right.
Yeah. Which is this is my favorite story, right? So you go to the Olympics and I think I want to say that she is actually one of the Olympians that's in a commercial. One of those NBC promos that talks about how great the Olympics are because it brings everybody together.
Yeah.
The Olympics bring everybody together, but I'm not going to the White House because I think Trump sucks, right? And so I love this story because, pride goes before the fall, as I'm fond of saying. And so she was making a big deal. I'm not going to go to the White House after the Olympics. You know what? She's not going to get invited to the White House because she didn't even place.
No.
We're beginning to call that Trump karma.
Did she fall down or just place poorly?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But she's not going. And I love that story. I'm sorry. It's just one of those things. Just keep it to yourself. What is this on the stage here? What was the other thing that we would talk about? Fergie singing, butchering the even Kaepernick. Even Kaepernick got off his knees for that one. The heck is that? No. Got up. You like that? I wish I didn't write it. All right. See, now I got to go back to work. I got to see what the other big stories are. $2 million in federal funding to aid the Guam Contractors Association's Trades Academy, which we need to get some time on the radio with the guys again. Bert Johnson, get him in the studio, and he can get me caught up. I know that they've gotten some money. I think that maybe when Nick Delgado went to go see him, I don't think he settled down from hearing about the announcement yet. Because the quote here from Bert is, instead of having a smaller shop space, we'll have a larger shop space. There you go. What are you going to do? More space is what we're going to be having with all of that. I did get some time earlier in the program with Sean Gumatautau, who is writing releases and reports over at the Judiciary of Guam, and was delighted to find out they've got some plans on how to deal with what is arguably going to be a tough time for them as well. They are also the government of Guam at the Judiciary. Always say it that way. I'm not sure why. Judiciary. It just sounds like it needs to be said that way. So you've got the judiciary, and currently the measures that they have implemented since October include suspending recruitment, suspend electronic monitoring, and that was where the question led off. So we don't have to do it now, but I mean, at some point, we'll need to spend a couple of minutes talking about the electronic monitoring program, because I'm fuzzy on why there's any money, frankly, that the court is spending to get this going. If it was me, if I was in charge of the electronic monitoring program, and okay, let's say that you were one of a half a dozen ne'er-do-wells that is in the news here this morning, a couple of the stories that Kevin's talking about. All right, I don't want to stick you in the jailhouse and pay for your breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and all of that stuff. Frankly, you're not dangerous enough for me to want to have to watch you all the time.
Right.
So I'm going to let the electronic device do it.
Okay.
Okay. But here's the deal: if you want to be able to continue to go to work, or whatever it is that you called work, if you want to be able to spend time with your family before we throw the book at you, all of these things, we'll be happy to affix you with an electronic monitoring device, for which you will pay.
Right.
And if it comes back scratched or broken or bleeding, then you own it for whatever it is. And your options are, I will pay for it and continue to live a semblance of my life, or I'm going to jail.
Yeah.
And sometimes bad things happen to people in jail.
Well, in many other states, they do apply that electronic monitoring to an offender's restitution.
Right.
So
Yes,
it is,
yes, you're paying that back. You're going to pay it back. So you better hope that your boss, after your public humiliating arrest, keeps you on. So, like I said, I'm not sure why we have electronic monitoring being a cost feature over at the court. Just do it like ambulances.
Right.
Yeah, privatize it, and so it's not even a function of the court. The judge bangs the gavel and says, "Mike, go see that guy over there."
Yeah.
And that guy over there is going to fix you up, and that's all there is to it, and you pay him. And if you don't pay him, you're going to jail. So be a good boy. Reduce court-appointed attorney fees and alternate public defender contract. Reduce locally funded travel. Okay. And implement the quality time program. So that's question number 2 if we talk to Sean. What is quality time?
I was about to say, huh?
Is that a thing that you can do to make the people in jury duty feel more comfortable?
Jury duty is quality time, isn't it?
Well, when my sister and I were in it, yeah. I don't want to say anything. I've got like 8 more days where I still have to make the phone call. And they'd do it, man. They'd have me come in just to screw with me. Yeah. Because but when the first time that I actually had to show up for a voir dire, my sister Mana was with me. And that was awesome. Can I just say, you should do that all the time. If you're we do this like chain migration. If you're going to bring in one night, bring them all in. You're going to bring in one from my family, bring all of us in. Right? And we'll be the jury. You don't need the voir dire. You just put us right in front of that. Because the guy because they had me in the courtroom with the defendant.
Ooh.
And then when they said what the defendant did, I was instantly biased. I mean, I was instantly jump over and throat punch the guy biased. You did that to a relative. Oh my God. Right? It was just one of those things. So, yeah, and that could be quality time as well.
On a different level, sure.
Free throat punch? What the heck? It's 9:45. It's 9:45. Still. There's a bunch of items I haven't bothered going anywhere near in the table of contents because you just never know where the programs are going to be coming from or where the talk segments are going to be coming. We did get a guy earlier, and this is another one of those guys. I want to return to this conversation, but I want to return to it when I have somebody that knows better than me what is the topic. Guy called in, and I'm having a hard time, sounding where he was on the issue about guys that go four-wheel driving in the middle of the island.
Right.
And the impact on the environment.
Yeah, I believe there was some sort of seminar or get-together that was done over the weekend, and they talked a bit about what I would assume was, taking a closer look at how perhaps to regulate where off-roading is done.
Or
the
best practices or something. I don't know. Here's where I am. I don't know that those guys do all the damage that everybody says they're guilty of, and they're causing all the runoff in the streams and in the tributaries. I don't know that. I promise you I'll look. And I'll call some of my friends in the hydro business and see what they've got to say. But there's all kinds of things that get into the ocean of a detrimental sort that have nothing to do with four-wheel drives. And the guy pointed it out, a good example. There's trash everywhere. Everywhere you look, there's trash and junk cars. And those have contribute poorly to the environment. So you get these guys, and they're out there on a Saturday and a Sunday, and they might get out, and there might be some mud when they're up there doing their thing with mud, because it's red dirt and it rains, and that's how you make the mud. And sometimes that doesn't come all the way down; it doesn't repack. But is that any worse than the impact that wild pigs and deer may have? Is it any worse than maybe guys in mountain bikes and motorcycles and ATVs messing around in there? Is it worse than the guys that will, the hunters that will go in the boondocks and set a fire? You set a fire to chase out the deer and the pig, and you shoot them when they come out of the burning of the flames.
Right.
Which, that's in my mind, that's not hunting. It's ambush.
That's,
Right? It's like the police and speed traps. So I want to make sure that we explore all of these things. Now, if there's a way to do it, there's a best practice that guys have worked on, then great. I want to know more about that as well. And so I'll see what we can get to between now and whenever I get motivated to do all of that stuff. 9:47, and what have we talked about? Federal tax rebates for Mike St. Nicholas. He can't still be sick. He's been dodging me. He keeps saying, no, because I know him on Facebook. So I'll social media the guy. And I'm like, hey, dude, Mike was going to call you. He says, you know what? Today was, I had a sore throat today. Or I have a booger. And so I can't go on the radio with you.
A crusty booger. So you're not just any booger.
Mean one.
One of those that make your eyes water.
That's it.
Yeah.
And put out an eye if you use it as a weapon. You rob a bank with it, right? I think Eddie Murphy said that once upon a time. All right, so there's that. The Guahan Academy is not going to get evicted. Hooray! I'd still like to know a little bit more than what I've read about it, because it kind of has that sound, doesn't it? We're not going to get evicted. We're going to make it all the way through the school year, and then they're going to kick us out. Is that what it sounds like?
That's kind of what it sounded like. Yeah.
But where's the part where we're working hand in hand with the owners of the property, and they've forgiven us, and we'll forgive them, and we're all going to be good friends, and that's all there is to it, and we'll be able to stay on this campus. I worry after the Guahan Academy students, and for all of the reasons why that we have talked about on the air, because it sounds like the bureaucrats are in charge. It sounds like the people that we're going to have a meeting, and then we'll, in that meeting, determine what we want the outcome to be of another meeting, and then we'll have that meeting. In the meantime, nobody is writing anything down. And so even this last thing that I saw, I'd like to see a piece of paper somewhere that shows what the intentions, what the wishes are of the landowners, because I haven't gotten around to seeing any of that yet. There's another story that we had been following, Kevin and I, for years since it first came out, and that is the incredible story of DFS, Lodi Duty Free, and the Guam International Airport.
Right.
That story has always been captivating and always been interesting. summary judgments that had come out a couple of weeks ago that had all of us very, very interested to see what the next legal steps were going to be. And the next legal steps from DFS was to go back to the court and say, hey, really like what you did there, but at the end of it, you don't provide any kind of finality here. And in fact, the way that document, the way that order was written, while it voids the contract, it does not stipulate when the Guam International Airport has to go back out and say, okay, we'd like another vendor.
Right.
When do we get to do that? And so I think that's among the issues that they are talking about with the court. DPW has been busy. I told you this because I'd seen it before I left, and I'd seen it for the first time with lights on it as the taxi was dropping me off in the shop this morning. They did. DPW guys, not contractors, mind you. The DPW guys did an outstanding job laying down some new reflective white tape on the road and then putting the markers up. They've got these new lane markers up there that reflect light. If it reflects white back in your direction, you're going the right way. Yeah. If it reflects red in your direction,
oh boy,
you're not going the right way. That is the incorrect passage on this roadway. I know that I saw them starting to work on the divot in the fence that was pulled out over at the Chinese Park, which was great. You know, I think, I hate to say it, but we need to put the fence all the way around Chinese Park.
Yeah.
Because there's too many people that go there in the middle of the night and drink and leave their crap behind. And if we are not going to put a fence all the way around it, maybe we can take some of our meager dollars that we have and put some kind of video camera capture device so we can see who these jerks are,
right,
and catch them in the act of leaving their crap behind and then giving that to a park policeman. They have that now.
Yeah.
Park ranger. And have them either make the guy clean it up, and everybody else's mess too, or pay a hefty fine so it never happens again.
Are there trash cans at Chinese Park?
Of course there are.
Well,
of course there are. People can't be troubled to walk 5 feet to put trash away. Amazing. It's 9:54. My producer says I got to take another break. Fine. Be right back. You're listening to The Post. Point.
At Micronesia Renewable Energy, values matter. So all of their solar energy systems come with guarantees and the most value. No shortcuts, all quality. It's giving you that solar energy system at the best price. It's using highly efficient solar panels with typhoon-proven racking, built by highly skilled local technicians, so your system performs and saves you money. It's total peace of mind all the time. Not all solar companies are created equal. For experienced quality solar, it's MRE. Call 632-2613. MRE, the smarter choice.
$7 meal from Circle K. Get your choice of 2 Nathan's all-beef hot dogs or a half-pound Nathan's all-beef footlong, a big wrap bag of chips, and any size Polar Pop. That's a giant deal of a meal, all for only $7. Circle K. Take it easy.
Closing in on 10 o'clock in the morning. My name is Ray Gibson. No, the radio station is called The Point. But I just, there's so many things in front of me that say Post, as in all of the newspapers that I've got laying about in the studio with all of the different stories that they are pointing to, and many of which I try to get to on a regular basis, but can be tricky.
Oh, yeah.
Can be absolutely tricky. You got, there's a lot going on in this town. And, some topics, some guests occupy a little bit more time than others. And you know what? I don't know how to change that. Been like this ever since I was doing talk radio when I was a younger broadcaster. Speaking of young guys, Lee Weber, who will, from time to time, I think now that he knows how to do it, can hear me as we stream our audio to the point, to the internets. And one of the things that is cool about that is you can also get audio and video at the same time. We stream to Facebook Live. We stream to our website, thepoint.gu, and the video's there. And in case you miss it, you can always go back. Facebook, we save this as a video on demand file on Facebook, and that means that after the show is done, I press a button, and it becomes something that you can then watch and start at 6 o'clock in the morning. Fast forward all the way through, if you like, which we think is a very, very cool thing. I'm also posting on YouTube. We keep a very clean copy of this in the hard drives attached to our video system, and so what happens there is we take it and we'll take that very good video and then post it up on YouTube. And same thing, you can watch it. It's actually cleaner to watch it on YouTube than it is to watch the VOD on Facebook. That's different cam qualities. But anyway, so Lee Weber is writing in one of the daily posts over the last few days about maybe a forensic CPA is what's needed in the government of Guam. Maybe we need something like a forensic CPA to take a look at where the majority of the tax leakage is and help the Department of Revenue and Taxation and the administration go and find those guys and get that money. Yeah. They may say, well, we don't need a CPA. We got guys that can do this. We've got auditors that can do it as well. It's just a question of, it just takes a lot of time.
Anytime you throw the word forensic in there.
Well, maybe just at a higher altitude. Right. Maybe just at the higher altitude. But when you get it down to the ground, remember what we are talking about here is accusing somebody of not paying their taxes, right, for which they are justifiably in a position to say, no, prove it. Mm-hmm. Prove I'm not paying my taxes, and I believe that the burden of proof would be on the accusers, not the accused. So that is one of the problems that we've got to address as we try to close up these gaps. But it could be some serious money. It could be worth it. Arda Logan always thought so. Arda Logan was always pushing in that direction whenever I'd interview him. And what would we use the money for? Services in the government of Guam. Delighted to find out that after all of these years, all of the lights at the Dededo Skate Park are working once again. Yeah. And you can thank the government. Actually, no. I think in this case it was an LC Construction Company, something like that.
I think so. Not sure, though.
I'll find out because I want to make sure that the credit is given to the appropriate persons that fulfilled that job. And it's not that tough to do. It just takes somebody with the get up and go to get up and did it. Hey, look at the time now, would you? It's 10 o'clock in the morning. You're listening to KUSG Hagutnya. This is The Point. Fox News is coming up on the other side of that. We've got Brian Kilmeade on the other side of that. The amazing, the incredible Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity later this afternoon, coast to coast overnight. And Kevin and Mike and I will be back with you at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. Till then, see ya.
Up in arms over firearms. I'm Steve Rappaport, Fox News. Another day of anti-gun demonstrations after last week's school shooting in Florida. The NRA has yet to make a statement on the shooting. The group's annual convention is